and Mary Aniko. The Action Aid Nigeria Civil Society Action Coalition on Education for All, YAGA Africa, and others have called for a cut of salaries of the federal lawmakers and political appointees to fund education. Now, Country Director Action Aid Nigeria, Enobi, stated this, saying that it is demoralizing that the public universities that produced the present crop of leaders and manpower being currently enjoyed in the country are locked due to unresolved labor disputes between the lecturers and unions and the federal government. They also called for collective efforts to end the ongoing ASUU strike in the interest of the nation's education and national development. In 2018, the senator representing Kaduna Central, Shehu Sani, revealed that he and his then colleagues received 13.5 million naira as running cost. Well, joining us to discuss this is Deji Awobiide, and he's a legal practitioner, and Biodo Shomi, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Great. So let's start by looking at the running cost of members of our legislature. This is not the first time this conversation has been had. Nigerians have always continuously called for a cut in the running cost of the National Assembly, the take-home pay of the National Assembly, but it's all just been talk and there's never really been action. I remember when Senator Bukola Saraki was the Senate president, there was also a cry for the finances of the National Assembly to be made plain so that Nigerians could know how much these people were earning. But I'm going to start with you, Deji. Do you think that this is another, talk or water poured on the back of a chicken in terms of asking for a cut in pay?
Well, thank you. So firstly, you know that the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission is empowered under the Constitution to fix remuneration for our legislators as well as other political office holders. Specifically, Section 70, 84, 111, and 124 make that provision, in addition to paragraph 32D of Part 1 to the 3rd schedule of the Constitution. However, you will see that REMAFAC has had a lot of difficulty in trying to implement its constitutional mandate of fixing remuneration for these political office holders. And the challenge itself stems from implementation, because they've had two attempts at a review. The first one was in 2009. We tried to review the package of these political office holders. After the review, they submitted the report. They didn't follow up on it. In 2015, the same thing was done. They tried to review it as well. The people who are supposed to actually implement these things, in other words, when the REMAFAC does its own review, it submits it to the National Assembly, which is supposed to make it into an act, a law that guides it. So the extant law that we currently have is called the Certain Political, Public and Judicial Officers, Office Holders, Salaries and Allowances Amendment Act of 2008. Now, since then, there have been efforts to review it, all to no avail, because the persons who are affected by it have made themselves a stumbling block towards the actualization of this amendment. So in other words, you have a package. If you go to the REMAFAC website, you'll find a package there. But that package does not reflect what they actually earn. So in theory, you have that there for all to access. But of course, there's no transparency as to how much they actually earn. And you've seen in the past few years that every National Assembly tries to twist the executive into putting what their own budget should be into the national budget. In other words, they would not pass the budget or approve a budget unless their own needs are well taken care of. And of course, it also emphasizes that when it comes to these packages, there is no division. They are united, even though they're from different tribes, different religions, different backgrounds. They are all united in ensuring that our collective, our common good is looted by them. And there seems to be no end in sight into how to resolve this problem. And that's where we are currently as a people, that we can't hold them to any accountability because they are the persons who should actually pass this law that regulate their amendment and their packages.
Mr. Shomi, let's look at the core of this call. The reason why this call was made in the first instance is because they're saying there's a deadlock between university lecturers, the unions, ASU, and, of course, the federal government. And we know that it has entered, I think this is the 100th day since universities had been shut down, and the 100th day of that strike. And it might continue to linger if federal government and ASU do not come to some form of agreement. But let's do a quick side-by-side look at how much the university lecturers earn as opposed to what our National Assembly members earn. I mean, we've seen the Shehu Sani saying that they earn about 13.5 million. Even though there are several ridiculous allowances that we will get to later in the conversation. So looking at these guys, what they're asking for, and what we have as pay for our National Assembly members, will there be a justification somewhat if this call were to be pushed further? If the budgeting or the budget of the National Assembly be cut into half to be able to deal with the problem of ASU. Again, during the APC's form buying and people declaring their intentions, we also saw how much monies were being, doled out, whether it be by groups or associations or certain persons saying, well, we want to pick a form for you. People have also queried that, but that's a political party and that's not a government agency. It's not also an arm of the government. In asking for this, how do we go about getting not just the legislature, but also the executive to the table with ASU?
Yeah, we need to go a little bit backward to understand what is actually going on and why they call for the reduction in the salaries of political office holders. When you look at in 2005 or 6, the intention of the former President Obasanjo, when he declared that he was going to monetize, all the facilities, housing and everything being enjoyed, by legislators. They went ahead and did that. Many of them bought the houses and bought the vehicles and all that. So they were expected to maintain those houses and vehicles. But immediately Obasanjo left power, the next turnaround is for the same legislators to hide under committees' duties. They were not supposed to have any vehicle belonging to National Assembly, but they hid under the work of committees and bought the vehicles and claimed that the vehicles were for committees' work, using the public funds, against the monetization. So basically, they took one thing with one hand and also double it with another hand, creating a very terrible situation for the whole country. Unfortunately, the federal government will not do anything about it because the legislatures are expected to, to pass the law. If they fail to enact the law, then there's nothing anybody can do, just like they just said. Now, when you now move a bit further and look at the report of Orosai's report under Jonathan, I think it was 2012 or 2013 or 14, when Orosai came up with the report that there are duplications of existing functions, of statutory agencies. In some cases, you have multiplication of, agencies. Essentially, politicians using it for job for the boys, rather than harmonizing those agencies and creating one agency to deal with one particular issue. Multiple agencies are created. And since then, government has failed to implement the Orosai's report simply because the need to keep these jobs in those agencies are jobs, can go for the boys, rather than looking at the imperative of national spending cut in order to fund the priorities like education. So we've been in this logjam right from immediately after Obasanjo's regime till now. And now we find ourselves in a situation where we're unable to fund education, we're unable to fund the health sector. So we've been having rampant, strike actions both in the health and the education sector. Specifically on the education sector, since 2009, the federal government reached an agreement with us And that agreement was renegotiated in 2018, again, by this very particular Buhari's government. When it comes to implementation, the federal government is short on that. We've seen the federal government refusing to implement, agreements that would, improve education, save the country a lot of funds on foreign exchange. And the only way you can understand the savings on foreign exchange if we invest in education at all is just to consider in 2018, 77,000 Nigerian students went to Ghana, to study in 5 universities in Ghana. And the total amount of money paid to 5 universities in Ghana, was more than the total budget for all Nigerian universities, federal, state, and whatever.
So it makes me ask the question. I'm so sorry to talk over you, Mr. Shomi. It makes me ask the question because sometimes there's that argument that Nigerians don't want to pay for good education, but then we see Nigerians working very hard to pay these school fees abroad. I mean, I've even heard somebody say she's going to school in Benin Republic. It goes to show how bad the situation is here for us to send our children to the next door country. So is it really about us not being willing to pay for good education, or it's just that the environment is not conducive enough for good education and learning to happen?
Yes. What Nigerians don't want to do is to pay for bad education. They are happy to pay for education. Otherwise, the private universities in Nigeria will not be surviving by now. What nobody wants to do is, to subvert inefficiency, to subvert poor education. And what government needs to do is to invest in it. The only way you can gauge government performance on education is to consider the UNESCO recommendation.
Okay.
To fund education. Have we ever even funded education to the level of 20%? We've never been able to do that. Never been able to do that. If you look at the current budget, we're looking at a figure of between 7 and 8%. So if it's a far cry from what is needed to fund education. So therefore, even encouraging Nigerians in Nigerian universities, encouraging people to fund, to support bad education. Government needs to go back to the drawing table with ASU, draw up a plan of action to transform Nigerian universities into world-class universities so that Nigerians will be too happy and foreigners will be too happy, to pay to receive education here in Nigeria. Okay. There's no reason why in Africa we should not partake in education tourism. Why can't we create first-class institutions, like University of Dar es Salaam, where many people, rush to now, and then, we can benefit from it, use the extra resources, made, to invest in other sectors of the economy. So this is the major problem. That is what ASU is fighting for. ASU wants the Nigerian universities to return back to its old glory days, where University of Ife, in those days, now Obafemi Awolowo University, UNILAG, UNN Nsukka, University of Ibadan, compete, with the best, universities in the world. We have since long moved away from there. And that is what ASU is fighting for. That is why federal government needs to listen. It is in the interest of our economy. We cannot continue to train our big students and throw them out. Nobody is going to employ them. They're either unemployable or when they get into the economy, the productivity.
I think that we lost the audio connection.
Tremendous from it, the economy. So, in whose interest are we? All right. In whose interest are we serving when we refuse to fund education properly?
Let me throw it back. Let me throw it back to Deji. Unfortunately, we're having some connection issues with you, Mr. Shomi, but we'll come back to you. Deji, there are those who also say that this might be deliberate on the part of our leaders, being that there are several ways to go about dealing with the ASU situation. And just like Mr. Shomi said, we've been graduating half-baked, in his words. I chose his words. Half-baked graduates from our different universities, and every year we're churning them out. But could this be a deliberate move from politicians, from governments? And also, as he mentioned, the SDGs on education, we have barely scratched the surface. when you look at our budgets year in, year out, the budgets do not hardly reflect anything on education. It's a meager sum that is, allotted to education. Why do you think that we are paying this least attention to education, which should be the most important, after healthcare?
Thank you very much, Mimi. Well, I think that the greatest challenge that we face as a people is the leadership challenge. Because if you look at the education budgets and health budgets side by side with how much the National Assembly is allocated in the budget, you would see that there's a very huge disparity. For instance, I think 2021 budget, 465 people in the National Assembly and more than the combined allocation for the health and education sector. That tells you that there's a systemic attempt to ensure that our educational sector and our health sector are rendered comatose. Because if you see what's going on, there's an agreement between the federal government and ASU, an agreement voluntarily entered into by the government. Both parties sat down and agreed. Now you have a case where a professor in the Nigerian university is earning about 500,000 naira. That's the highest level of the professorial cadre, 500,000 naira. Meanwhile, that amount is not even enough as running allowance or running costs for a House of Rep member. So it means that our priorities are misplaced. If you allocate that much money for politicians, while you leave those in the academia, those who produce the graduates, who supply you with the human resources that the country needs to develop, with peanuts, then, there's a need for an overhaul of the entire system. We've advocated that we should return to part-time legislators, people who are gainfully employed, who would come and legislate maybe in the evenings or on part-time basis, but not full-time legislators, lawmakers who would sit down in Abuja. Sometimes on TV, you see that they are sleeping, either sleeping or absent. You see important motions are being moved by their serious colleagues, and you find a very scanty number of people in the House or in the Senate chamber. So that tells you that there's a disconnect between what these people are going there to do and what they're actually doing. Because you're supposed that by the Constitution, you are required to go and make laws for the betterment of the people. Now, the people include the students who are at home, the students who are not able to go to school for the past 100 days, students who are in final year, some who are supposed to go to law school, some are supposed to go and start their housemanship. All of them are just there at home doing nothing, all because of these politicians. There's an agreement that is in place. ASU is fighting for this welfare. Now, every now and then you see that the government establishes universities, federal university here and there, to satisfy their political cronies. So who is fooling who? You have universities that are not properly funded. The libraries are obsolete in terms of stock of books. The laboratories are not properly equipped. You have medical students who cannot have facilities that are state of the art. You can so you see that there's a challenge that is there for all to see. But the government is disinterested. The politicians are also disinterested in what's going on. Like I told you when I began, I said when it comes to sharing money, there is no tribalism involved. There's no religion involved. They are united in sharing money. But when it comes to things that will move the country forward, you will not find them advancing the people's cause. They are all about themselves. So I just to answer your question, it is deliberate, it is systemic. And if you find out what's going on here, most Nigerians, even the middle class, don't send their children to federal universities anymore. They send them to the private universities. So what does that tell you? You will see that if you observe, that's what they did to the public primary schools. They did the same thing to the public secondary schools. And now they're doing the same to the public universities. They're gradually eroding public confidence in them and systemically ensuring that people are not going there anymore. Because before you send your child to school, now there have been 2 strikes in about 3 years. A combined period of about 7 months now, if you tally it up. 7 months. Some schools are still running the session of 2019 before COVID. They're supposed to start a new session now, and there's another strike ongoing. So students cannot graduate. Those who are doing their PhDs cannot graduate. Masters cannot graduate. LLBs bachelors cannot graduate. So what are we talking about? So it is systemic and it's deliberate and it is wicked on the part of the government. It's very wicked because if you enter into an agreement, it is pacta sunt servanda. You enter into an agreement with the person, you must honor the agreement. You cannot come back and say that it was entered into erroneously. That cannot avail you as a defense.
Let me ask this question. I mean, I see that we're saying that government, and I'm not in any way trying to absolve government of the blame that they ought to carry on this particular matter. But in terms of us always finding other options when our leaders do not live up to, you know, the leadership that we have handed to them. For example, like you said, the middle class person is sending their children to private universities, and some even sending them abroad, you know, scraping the bottom of, you know, their piggy banks to send these children abroad. But what are we supposed to do to make sure that these people who we call leaders, who are supposedly to serve us and do whatever it is they're doing in our best interest, what are we supposed to do to them to get them to do their jobs? Because it's not enough for us to be crying foul and saying, well, the government is not doing its job. Who's going to make them do that? Is that not supposed to be our job, to keep them accountable and responsible?
Correct. Absolutely correct. We should not forget one thing, that one of the drivers for corruption in Nigeria is the desire to fund education of wards outside Nigeria. And you see parents holding public offices, you know, looking for other ways and means to accumulate capital, even primitively, to the extent of being able to fund those luxurious education for their children. So therefore, if we fail to build our own institutions here, which the same people are the ones responsible for, then we'll continue to have corruption thriving in our country. So one of the ways in which we can do this is, first, somebody came up with that suggestion in the House of Reps, I think, and his colleagues rejected it. There's a new opportunity for Nigerians. Nigerians should ask anybody seeking for their votes, what is their view on education, on sending their children abroad to school?
But Mr. Shomi, anybody can tell us what we want to hear. It's very easy. A desperate person who wants to get our votes can tell us what we want to hear. How about we begin to make demands instead of asking questions and getting very, you know, nice answers, as opposed to what will happen in reality?
Absolutely. It's one of the ways in which to sensitize political office seekers about the priorities, you know, of the rank and file Nigerians who they need their votes. Even though they will tell you, yes, when they get there, they will do something else. But at the end of the day, they will be more sensitive to the fact that there's the likelihood that a movement, excuse me, will build along this line towards forcing them or compelling them to do the right thing. We were very close to it with NSAS, save for the agenda. You know, the youth failed to include education as part of the agenda. You know, and I would not be surprised if in the nearest future we would see either the National Association of Nigerian Students or some other or civil society groups, you know, galvanizing public opinion and also mobilizing people towards compelling the federal government, you know, to listen and, you know, not precisely the federal government, the National Assembly, you know, to do the biddings of people, but employing the children of political office holders, you know, from studying abroad. The moment they know that their children will be affected, believe me, they will pay more attention, they will vote more money, you know, to the educational sector in Nigeria. Okay. But except we do that, I cannot see the ruling class, you know, yielding easily. Don't forget they have a very rapacious, you know, test, you know, for public wealth.
Deji, I want you to chime in on this. I can imagine you nodding in your head. but
yes,
before you answer, I had a member of the House of Representatives here on the show last night, and he was talking about, you know, certain ills in the National Assembly, including himself, and talking about the fact that legislators are only passing bills and making laws that only are in their interest. And I asked the question, if I'm benefiting from these legislations and it's helping me, and I've been there for 30 to 35 years, why would I want to change it? So yes, he's saying that we should make them do those things, but really, is that it? Can we really do that? Will it ever happen if we the people don't do something?
Well, honestly, I was nodding along to what Mr. Shomo was saying, but I want to differ a little bit as it relates to accountability of the elected officials. Now, don't forget that right now we're in the election season. A lot of primaries held across Nigeria, yes, I think today and yesterday of the PDP. And you could see on social media the amount that these delegates were expending. You've seen the news about people asking for a refund of their money or getting a few less votes than they expected or anticipated. Now, a system that allows people to pay delegates or have delegates determine who becomes the flag bearer, who a person spends all that money to get to that particular office, does not think that he's accountable to the people. He thinks he's accountable first to himself and his pocket, and then to his cronies who got him there. So you have a crisis in terms of accountability, because ordinarily the Constitution says when you get there, you're supposed to go there and make laws. But the first thing you need to do is to recoup how much you have spent, first and foremost. Then try and get some more money to bolster your finances for the next election. So really and truly, working for the people is not priority. Now, the only way we can get these people to do our bidding is to activate the recall process. And even at that, you saw what happened with, I think it was Dino Melaye that was about to be recalled, or you saw what happened with the process. They ensured that they thwarted the process along the line. So there's a process for recalling lawmakers. We can actually explore the opportunity, but we need to have a strong base, a base that would not be shaken by financial or considerations, because eventually you can't recall these lawmakers. And that's what happens in every advanced society, in every civilized society. People have left political offices for less abroad. But in Nigeria, people do a lot of things. There was a senator who slapped somebody, I think it was a senator or House of Rep member, I think it's Senator Abba or something in Abuja, who slapped somebody on camera. I don't know what became of him eventually, but I'm not sure that he was asked to leave his seat.
No.
And you have a lot of instances of people who have done all kinds of things and who have remained in power. So the problem is that we don't have a culture of accountability yet, of recalling lawmakers, of ensuring that people resign their offices. And that's the problem we're facing, because we just, we have a very, very large bandwidth for accommodating nonsense in Nigeria. We tolerate a lot of hardship. We just make excuses and we keep taking it. And I'm sure we said, almost happened with NSAS until political interests intervened and scuttled the entire process. But we need to rise up as a people to demand these changes. Otherwise, it's very impossible and impracticable for persons who are benefiting from the system to now cause the change that we desire. Like I said, a senator who gets to the National Assembly, who's being paid these fat allowances, will not refuse it. Whether it's a pastor or an imam, he will not refuse these fat allowances, because that is what he has met on ground. And if he tries to refuse it, or tries to propose a motion for an amendment, his colleagues will shut him down. And that's democracy for you. Majority will always have their way. The majority will have their say, but the majority will always have their way. So if you're outnumbered in terms of people who have like minds, who want to build a better country, and you're outnumbered, then there's a problem, because there's so much you can do if you're in the minority. And that's why we are where we are. And until there's an holistic approach to changing all that we currently have as a structure in Nigeria, I think we will still continue to sing the same song.
Well, Biodun Sowunmi is a political analyst. Deji Awobide is a legal practitioner. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of the conversation.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll be talking about the NNPP and, of course, their plans towards 2023. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Everybody wants new Nigeria. Nobody wants to continue with this rusted system that is not working for anybody except those who are in government and their cronies and people around them. And when we go to the New Nigeria People's Party, we're happy with the New Nigeria, and we're happy with New Nigeria People's Party. And you see, we are not only looking for party with the majority of people, we are looking for party that has a potential of receiving people who are of like minds. The party is very much concerned about the security in this country. Security is key. In fact, in the past, we were taking security for granted because we believe that every responsible government, not only in Nigeria, but across the country, will ensure the security of lives and properties. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in this country that the government in power cannot really say that they have done that. We have seen what happened just recently from here to Kaduna, where the train was attacked. So many people were killed, some were being injured. Many people were being taken into the bush. As we are speaking now, they are there with the bandits. Only God knows what is happening to them. We have seen young men and women, especially the young doctor that we have seen being killed, and we have seen the dead body and so on. It's very unfortunate. And we are not after the statistics of who was killed, who was not killed. What we are interested in is for the government to go and fish out those bandits and terrorists that are killing innocent Nigerians.
Yes, I was trying to harp on these assurances that these people came on board. They went every corner, every nook, assuring Nigerians that they were the only ones with the capacity. And the person of Mr. President is the best thing after Jesus Christ that will happen to Nigeria. And all Nigeria needed to have all its problems fixed was to get that man in power. Today, even his own party faithfuls, like we have listened recently from Governor El-Rufai, Rotimi Amechi, and very many who have come sincerely to admit that there's failure in administration, that there is gross incapacity. But it didn't take us that long for us to know. The first 3 months, in fact, before he resumed office, we knew that they were foisting on Nigeria a person who is devoid of integrity.
You see, it is easier for a court to say IPOB is a terrorist group because it is an association that is defined by objectives, and there are leadership, there are structure. You can easily define them as a group. So when you now classify such an organization, then anyone that associates with that organization can be said to be either be a member or aid in abetting the advancement of such cause.
As the 2023 elections inches closer with every passing day, many political parties are jostling to make arrangements that would ensure they clinch power at different levels of government. The New Nigeria People's Party is one of those. While addressing the defections into the party, Dr. Boniface Aniebonam, pioneer national chairman and founder of the party, said that the development is a manifestation of divine intervention towards giving Nigeria the right leadership. And he also added that new entrants were on a mission to rescue Nigeria from the poor leadership it has suffered over the years. The party also announced the shift in dates for the senatorial and governorship primaries of the party, while welcoming former Kano State Governor and Senator Ibrahim Shekarau to the party. Well, joining us to discuss these I beg your pardon, Mr. Agbo Major. He is the National Publicity Secretary, New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. Thank you very much, Mr. Agbo, for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, Nigerians.
Thank you. Let's start by looking at the NNPP. The NNPP has been in the news more lately because of several people who have moved into your party. We're talking about Kwankwaso, we're talking about Shekarau, and then, of course, there are many more people that the party is saying that they're receiving. But then let's start by looking at what the NNPP think it has that can upstage all the other parties. And when I say the other parties, I'm talking about the two major political parties, especially as the NNPP has identified itself as a third force.
Well, that's a very good question. Let me start this way by saying that the New Nigeria People's Party, as we all know, has been the party for the youths, the party for the women, the most ordinary people-friendly party all this while. So we're attracting big wigs, the likes of Kwankwaso, Senator Kwankwaso, the likes of Senator Shekarau and the rest coming in. It's not a surprise to us because all along, over the past 21 years, we've stayed, on the side of the ordinary people. We've stayed on the side of the women. We've stayed as a party on the side of the youth. So with a full, compliments of the youths and women, where PVCs actually are, we are sure that we have made serious progress, very tremendous progress, and we are sure that this election that is coming, we are the party to beat. So it's not a surprise to us. We've always expected this. And like you rightly have pointed out, we expect more Nigerians to join in the next few days. At the end of the day, we will be the party to beat.
Talk to us about these progresses that that you say that you have made over time. Because one of the first things that people will ask about the NNPP is, where are your roots? Do you have your party represented in all the local governments across the federation? That's number one. Secondly, what is your party structure in those local government areas? I ask this again because we are looking not at the smallness or the bigness of your party. We're looking at the capability and the structure that your party has. Does it have any of that? And how widespread is it? How strong is it? For the average person who you're trying to get his or her votes, what exactly or how exactly strong are you in those areas?
Well, if there's any of the political party in this country that is deeply rooted, the New Nigeria People's Party, we've, before now, even before the entry of these big wigs you're talking about, as a party, we've ensured that we've maintained, our structures across, even up to the world level. What we have in our constitution is replicated through the zones, it's replicated through the states, and it's also replicated through the local governments and the world. So if, for instance, at the national level, the NWC level, we have about 30-something offices. If you go to the states, if you go to the zones, that's what you would find, the 6 geopolitical zones. If you go to the 36 states of the Federation and Abuja, you find the same thing. You go to any of the 774 local government councils in this country, you find the same thing. You go to any of the wards, you find. So we pride ourselves as a party, as one of the parties. In fact, I can tell you that even our roots are deeper than that of the PDP. Our roots are deeper than that of the APC, because like I said during my opening remarks, we've remained on the side of the people, and the power is with the people, and the people are at the grassroots level. So from the beginning, in the past 21 years, what we tried to do was to ensure that our structures are kept alive at those lower levels. So the entry of the likes of distinguished Senator Kwankwaso, distinguished Senator Shekarau, and the rest is only now helping to strengthening it in the sense that their own structures, which they have built and kept over time, is now coming into a sort of marriage with that of the NNPP. So we are unstoppable. We're on ground, I can assure you that. And I can also tell you, as a matter of emphasis, that we are more and more and more deeply rooted than the PDP and the APC that have controlled power since the return of democracy in 1999. There's no doubt about that.
I'm curious. Many people have referred to your party and some other parties, including those that have been recently deregistered by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Many say that some of these parties, yes, they would say they have, structures in every local government area of the state, but then when it comes to walking the talk, many say that they only come alive when it's close to election because of the monies that they receive. What would you say to that? Again, there has been rumor. Oh, just hold on, I'm going to land. There's also been, talk about the NNPP having to form a merger with another party, the Labour Party. How true is this?
Well, from the first question, the first poser you raised, if that were applicable to us, we would have gone down like the 74 political parties went down, after the 2019 election. The position of our laws in this country is political parties are established, registered by INEC, and the sole objective is to field candidates for elections. And the same law goes further to say that at the end of every electoral cycle, if a party is unable to win seats, the party has to go down. That's why you saw that in 2020, early 2020, I think February.
Mr. Major, are you still there? I think that we have lost that connection with Mr. Agbo Major, but we will quickly try to get that connection back. Mr. Major, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Perfect. We lost you for a second.
Yes, I will revert. What I was trying to say that if we were one of those parties, we would have gone down like the 74 that went down, because the position of the law is at the end of every electoral cycle, if a political party is unable to win at least one seat in the state legislative level, the party would be registered. That's why you saw 74 parties go down in one day. If we were one of those without structures, if we were one of those that failed to win at least one seat, would have also gone down. So the fact that...
But could it also have been that Senator Kwankwaso helped you to dodge that bullet by moving to your party?
No.
And moving with the Kwankwasia movement to your party?
No. Distinguished Senator Kwankwaso, with due respect to him, just in 2019, as at then, Kwankwaso was not a member of the party yet. So if we were operating like the other parties, we would have also gone down. So the fact that we didn't have an issue, we knew what we were set out to do as a political party, and we stood by our words, remained on the side of the people, and were able to win seats. If I begin to give you statistics of what we did in Bauchi, you'll be very surprised. The rest is history. Of course, the way elections are conducted in this country. But I can tell you that we got virtually everything in Bauchi, including a senatorial seat, which was taken away. The rest is now history. So we are not one of those that are just there, coming alive only during elections, like you just rightly said. If we were, we would have gone down. That's the first leg of the question. The second leg is that we're taken aback this morning, when we started reading that NNPP is one of the 7 political parties that came together to adopt Labour Party as their major platform. That's not correct. I can't remember at any point in time if any of our officers, from the national chairman, even the founder of the party, Dr. Boniface Anebunam, the leader of the party, distinguished Senator Kwankwaso, I can't remember at any point they had called us together to say, look, this is the direction, this is where we're going to. So when we saw it this morning, as I talk to you now, we're still in the office, the national chairman is here, I'm here. The national secretary is here, almost all of us are here, we're putting heads together. We have done, at the preliminary level, we've tried to get Nigerians to understand that we were never part of that and we can't be part of that. But we're going to come out with a full press statement between now and tomorrow morning, disassociating ourselves from that arrangement, because we never at any point met with them. And you don't just wake up and say, I have met with them and this is what we agreed, when we were never there at all. So to summarize on that, I can tell you that we were never part of that. We won't be part of that. We can never be part of that.
Let's talk about your internal party democracy. Now, we know that you announced a few days ago, announced a shift in the dates for your senatorial and governorship primaries for the party. What could have led to that move? And of course, we also know that you recently, like I mentioned earlier on, welcomed the former Kano State Governor, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, to the party. How does the internal democracy of your party work? Again, is it just the former senator that is going to be your party flag bearer, or are there others who are vying for that position? Again, as to the other offices that are being run for, whether it be senatorial or governorship, how do we see it play out within the party? Because we've seen the APC and the PDP go back and forth on the issue of a consensus candidate, whether it be indirect or direct primaries, and there's been some form of deadlock, and it's still leaving a lot of people guessing. But when it comes to the NNPC, what are the steps that you're taking to make sure that your move to get all of these positions filled is free, fair, and credible?
When you talk about internal party democracy, you check through the records, even if you have the time to go through, reports that have been put together by the election monitoring body, that is the INEC, you would have seen that New Nigeria People's Party is one of those parties that is known traditionally for very effective.
Mr. Major, I think we lost you again. Are you still there? Mr. Major, I think we lost you. Okay, we will take a quick short break, and when we come back, we'll figure this out. Well, thank you for staying with us. We still have with us the National Publicity Secretary of the NNPP, Mr. Agbo Major. Unfortunately, he was cut off briefly, but he's back with us. Mr. Major, you're still trying to give us an insight into what happens within your party in terms of internal democracy.
Yes, I was saying that one of the things we have going for us as a party, which has united us for this whole 21 years of our existence as a political party, is our strict adherence to the principles of internal democracy. For us as a party, the power is with the people. Once they take their decision, nobody changes it. The power resides with people. And that has guided us, and it has kept us united as a family. And that's why 21 years of existence, you haven't heard of anybody's mandate being stolen within the party, especially if it relates to, processes of selecting candidates for general elections and all of that. You hardly hear of somebody being shortchanged. You hardly hear somebody won election, the mandate is taken away, and all of that, and all of that.
What would be the mode of your? What would be the mode for your primaries?
What we are doing is, depends on the situation on ground. In some places, we'll be having direct primaries. In some other places, we'll be having indirect primaries. In places where we don't have more than one candidate vying for a position, of course, we don't need to go through the rigors of getting people to, get involved in indirect primaries and all of that. So in some places where we have more than one candidate running for a position, of course, we would allow people to be able to, exercise their franchise and all of that. So we are doing a combination of two to ensure that people leave the process happy. That is what I can say about the mode of our primaries. Then on the issue of internal democracy, like I was trying to say, that's one great thing we have going for us. And that's why the party has remained united for the past 21 years that it has existed as a political party. You hardly hear of anybody's mandate stolen. You hardly hear of anybody being shortchanged and all of that. So we are known for that. We received a lot of accolades, a lot of praises for being one of the parties that's maintained strict adherence to the principles of internal democracy. One of the things that kills the political party very fast is lack of internal democracy. And we have been, guided by that, sure that we don't fall foul of that. Then on the issue of us having just one presidential candidate, yes, as at the time the sale of forms for the presidential slot closed, only one candidate came forward to buy the form, and that's His Excellency, distinguished Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. And as it stands now, he is the sole candidate
for the party. Okay, great. What's the guarantee that the average person will not be shortchanged? You have said it. It's easy talk when you don't have big wigs and big money bags. in the party where everybody seems to be on the same level and there seems to be some mutual understanding. But can you say same for now, where you have more people with more money and then, or maybe a few people with more money and more people with less money who may not necessarily be on the same level with the new money bags that you have within the party? Can you still boast of the fact that there will be a level playing ground for all? May not be for the presidential because you have just one presidential candidate, but on the other, for the other tickets, whether it be governorship or senatorial houses of assemblies, will the story change or will you stick to this story down the line?
No. Like I told you, one of the things we don't play with as a party is to ensure that the will of the people prevails always. We have been guided by that. This party, mind you, has existed for 21 years. You haven't heard of rancor. You haven't heard of disagreements.
But did you have the kind of people that you have in the party today then?
No, it doesn't matter. You see, when you take in people, you also adjust your talkers of us. You adjust your ability to, bring them in and the ability to also contend them. We're not just taking these people.
I'm sorry, Mr. Major, you're telling me that having money bags, I'm sorry, my choice of words, the big wigs in your party will not make certain people or certain party members be at the whims and caprices of these people. You're telling us that you, as the NNPP, can guarantee us as Nigerians that there will not be people who will be extensively influential on your party and the decisions that are being made because of the level that they actually have or hold.
Not at all. You see, the party has its code of conduct that guides its operations and activities.
So does every political party.
It is a union of like minds. So when you are coming in, first, we need to extract a commitment from you that you will be guided by the code of conduct that guides our operations as a party. You will also be guided by what we believe in. And what we believe in is unity of purpose and understanding as one family. So we're not just bringing these people in. We are bringing them in after a series of discussions, after extraction of commitments that they would adhere strictly to what has kept the party united for the past 21 years. Okay. So with that level of commitment, we are very, very sure that they won't come in to do anything that is to the contrary. We believe that they are in and they are in for good, and they will be guided by what has kept us united for the past 21 years. We don't have any problems about that. We have also adjusted our shock absorbers to be able to take in, because you can't be completely sure that you would get 100% what you want. Okay. There will be dissidents. There will be one or two people who would want to do something funny, but our shock absorbers are sharp enough to be able to take care of all of those challenges. I can assure you that. So for Nigerians, what I can tell them is they won't see anything from us that would look like people being shortchanged, or that would look like people unnecessarily taking advantage of the party because of resources and all of that.
Well, all that remains to be seen. Agbo Major is the National Publicity Secretary of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. Thank you so much for speaking with us. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that's all for tonight on Plus Politics. But before we go, how tired are you as a Nigerian? I'm wondering. Are we tired enough to the point where we can make our leaders responsible and accountable to us? I need you to chew on that tonight. I'm Mariana Kun. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great weekend.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigeria.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Sayome Saleh, and today Utie and Nama are with me in studio. Hello, ladies. Who are we starting with? The lady in yellow. Hello,
hello. Trying to bring a little bit of sunshine.
Yeah, we need it too. The place is cold. How are you?
It is.
How was your day?
Long day at work.
I love your hair.
Day. Thank you.
Very nice.
Rocking my natural as we do. But yeah, good day. Just a busy one. So, after you go through the frenzy of Monday, sometimes I feel like Tuesday's worse. But yeah, so today was a physical day in the office and it was busy. But good. We get the work done.
Ekushe.
Thank you. How are you?
Nama, how are you? How was your day?
I'm good. I'm well.
You look well.
That's what I want to focus on. Oh boy. It was good. It was just running from one thing to the other. Before I knew it was already evening. Like, okay. I like the fact that it runs fast, but you get quickly exhausted. But we're good.
This way.
How's the little man that did birthday the other day?
No, we've not heard the last of it. It's like 3. I am 3.
Where's my cake actually?
Deux, trois. So, what's your
counted
cake?
in French. It's a
Yeah,
serious matter.
as in down to detail.
We can swing by on the way home and collect
Yeah,
it.
it's not like we can. We are. I'm going to go. I'm actually craving cakes. I don't know. So we're not discussing cake. What are we discussing? We're discussing
it's big part of what we're discussing.
In fact, I have figures for you.
Hallelujah! You are the right candidate for this show. So we're discussing parties in Lagos. How people are spending $700,000 to buy dress, right? And here's what we found as today's quote: "When you know the impact of little expenses, you would realize that there is nothing little in this world." So Lagos is the center of excellence and arguably the capital of high-class events and attractions in the part of Nigeria. There's always a lineup of events to attend every other weekend. In fact, it's not weekend anymore. I think it's from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all week, right? With activities. This comes with expenses, right? So it's our ladies' night out. And Uti, Norma, and I will be discussing events in Lagos. We're asking what's the cost to the pocket your pocket and my pocket. And when we open our phone lines, we really love to hear what you have to say about this. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. You are still watching Ways. Now, May 24th is National Brothers Day. So call your brother and tell him you love him, even though he'll say you were weird afterwards. When you were younger, you argued over Legos or argued over PS, you know, or I mean, whatever whose turn it is to sit in the front seat and whatever. So yet, in some strange ways, those childhood squabbles served to make you closer over the years. So if you haven't done so already, today is supposed to be a day where you're supposed to go and hug your brother and tell the brother you love the brother. Who has a brother here?
I do. I have just one. One and
Me
only.
too. Just one.
And I'm glad he knows I love him, even though we can kill ourselves. Where we
Uti, how about you?
So, I love my brother. My brother doesn't joke with me, but we fight. Like literally every time he calls, we fight. So sometimes he actually will call me and he would start the call with, "We're not going to argue." I'm just calling to say hi.
But we end up with arguments.
I'm just going to say hi. I'm just going to check up on you. And by the time you run through all the pleasantries, they will just say one thing and woo, that's it.
The argument will surface.
That's it.
But that's the fun in it, right?
Well, yes and no. I would rather we didn't argue so much, but I don't doubt that he loves me. I don't doubt that if you try me now, he'll take you out. And that's what matters.
Alrighty. So much in the news. Yesterday I mentioned that Banky W, he actually won his primaries.
Okay.
He won his primaries. So today I was on what's it called, on some news platforms, and I was seeing how people were asking for refund of 2 million naira that they had paid delegates.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
so many drama happening around the primaries that just
I've
concluded.
all sorts of screenshots of Twitter and all of that. And I saw one person that said, "Oh, they put delegates in the hotel.
Yeah,
they fed them. The police from keeping them."
This delegate thing is a fraud, though. So this guy actually paid the former VP Sambo. His son paid delegates 2 million naira to pay, I mean, so that he could secure his ticket. Then did you see the one that slumped? The video I shared. Oh, wow. There was a senator. I think he had paid, so he was so confident that he was going to win. When they announced that he didn't win, he just went down.
It's a chopping money something. Right from the forms right down to getting
so much drama happening. Then I hear Stephanie Coker's husband won his own seat in Ogun State. Banky W won his seat. So let's watch. I think it's looking interesting already. There's a lot of buzz around it. I'm thinking even with Banky W, PDP was very strategic because it created a lot of buzz around his candidacy, and the same thing with, Stephanie Coker. So any celebrity that wants to go for politics, now is the right time. All right, so now let me start with you. What did you find for us?
All right, at least for once I don't have too much I don't have bad news today. I just found this story really interesting about a teen author who decried poor reading culture in Nigeria. So the story goes that the 17-year-old author, Miss Ijeoma Nwogo, has appealed to governments at all levels and corporate organizations to establish more book clubs in schools and communities to promote reading culture from tender ages in Nigeria. She had just launched 3 of her books, new books. The first is Dear Diary, the second, A Twiddle in Kismet, and Note from My Heart. She said that the establishment of more book clubs had become necessary as many children were not developing an interest in reading. And when she wrote for her first book, she wrote it when she was 5, and it was as a result of an urgent need to create an enabling environment to revive and promote reading culture. So I find it really interesting that it's even a young person in today's world that is asking the government and probably corporate organizations to go, as in to follow this cause of culture of reading. Because really, as bad as our education sector is in Nigeria, if people can know that it's not just about going to school, it's about enlightenment, it's about knowing, it's about exposure. And a lot of people started having exposure through reading books. That was when they started having contact with the larger world and pictures and all of those things, and that increased their curiosity to
an
know
imaginative
more, right?
Capacity.
So coming from this young person, I'm also putting my voice behind that to say the government needs to do, because education is a very key aspect of our growth as a nation. And if these young ones do not have that opportunity, it will still affect the crop or the quality of Nigerians that we will have in tomorrow's
So, I mean, we're
world.
seeing the effects today. I mean, beyond even from an education perspective, reading from an early age has so many benefits. So in terms of developing your vocabulary, attention, the ability to pay attention. So we see that, you know, with the screens and all of those things that we're dealing with in today's world, a lot of children end up with ADHD, attention deficit, also the ADD, attention deficit disorder, because of all the flickering lights and all of that. So books allow you to center yourself and channel yourself and focus on paying attention. It also builds imagination. So U and I saw a movie a couple of weeks ago and we're like, man, when will our minds get there to be able to sit and imagine things like that? But it's actually the, you know, reading from a young age, you know, because when you read, you have to create the characters in your mind, you know. So sometimes when we started to watch these movies, you go, oh, is that what I saw in my mind? It's so different from what I was imagining. But all of those things have long-term effects for children. And I mean, we're seeing it today, but we really, really do.
You know,
need to
I'm
pay
actually
attention.
very grateful because very early I introduced my children. I mean, everybody that knew me knew that I was a regular customer at Latana Ventures, because we always go, you know, get books for the boys, and you know, my son would literally sleep off while reading, and you know, I know how it has impacted him as a person, because his imagination is wild. It's, you know, he's able to picture, and guess what? His
ability.
Yes, he picks. You know, so I mean, he can just be watching quickly. I say now, wow, Father Lord, where? Let them get to where we did not get to. But I can see the difference. It's really, really big. You know,
It makes
it's
a
a huge difference. So for parents that can, you know, don't do all the gadgets and the whatever while they are still very young. I mean, instead buy them books. I remember when my son did his, I think it was his 4th or 5th birthday, when he was in year 1. When he did 10 was his book. Year 1, even before they started banning party packs in school, what I used to do as I would just go to Latana Ventures, count the number of children in the class, and I'll get those small, really lovely story books. So I did that when he was in year 1. By the time I was coming back to pick him up, you know, on his birthday, that's David's birthday, all the children came, they were just hugging me. David's mommy, I love this story, I read this. So you can imagine, so it's not because, you know, these children will not really be interested. It is us as parents, thank you, that are not doing the right thing. We have to get to that point where these things don't matter. Yes, there will be time for the PlayStations and all of those things, but you see, that book and reading, you can't take it away. When you introduce that child early enough, you'll just be relaxing. You will not stress your head when it comes to even the academic performance of the children.
Because how they do one thing is how they do
others. Oti, your story.
Okay, so my headline says NIBS says e-payments hit a whopping 114.8 trillion naira between January and April 2022. This was a very interesting story for me. So it says the Nigerian Interbank, so NIBS, which is the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, has said that transactions worth a total of 114.8 trillion naira were performed electronically in Nigeria in the first 4 months of this year. This is, a 44% increase compared to the same period last year. So whilst we're all saying, you know, things are getting harder, the economy seems to be slowing down, but for me, this is a testament to how far we've come in the cashless.
It's not only that I'm thinking. I'm just thinking that why can't we go and start our own? Because you know what I'm seeing all these e-payment platforms springing up left, right, and center. I'm wondering, who are the people using it? 114 trillion.
No, there's a lot. So if you think about it, I mean, the POS guys that you're seeing now, they're all over the place. You know, this is financial inclusion. You can go there, you can transfer to them, and then they give you cash. So, you know, when I first saw this story in my mind, I said to myself, if we're doing 114 trillion in e-transactions, and this is just transfers. It says NIP, right? Which is the internet transfer. Can you imagine what we're still doing in cash? Because I mean, cash is king,
still
really.
King, yeah.
You know, so to think that we are recording 1.4, so the amount is 114 trillion, but the count is 1.4 billion transactions in 4 months.
Wow, that is huge.
So like we said, when you hear these numbers, for me, because I was reading something the other day that said that we hope that the fintech bubble doesn't burst, because it just seems like every day there's somebody doing a new payment, and I'm like that. I ask, I mean, like, how many platforms do I really need to pay one bill? How many platforms do I need to buy airtime? But when you see these volumes, you realize that there's enough of a market out there
absolutely.
to go around. So,
absolutely.
Great to see that cashless is
fantastic.
Is moving.
So my story, this way. I saw the prayers. Jesus, come and help us. Jesus, come and help us. EFCC have finally arrested Rochas Okorocha. I don't know who has been following that story. Earlier this afternoon, they had stormed his residence in Abuja. I think in what's that area now, Maitama in Abuja, and they were there. According to the reports that we saw, his video that he did a video also online, you know. So he was, you know, he was saying that they had asked, all his lawyers had asked EFCC for a warrant for his arrest. They didn't produce any warrant for his arrest. So according to the video that I had watched, he was saying in that video that they had broken all his security doors, that they were on the last door. So if you had watched that video extensively, there was a point where they now had to come through the roof of they broke, you know. I don't know if they can just quickly play a short clip of that video.
Were they doing that to try to reach him? Was it that he was resisting? Because
I have no idea, but if they can quickly play that video, I think we have it.
I find it
This is EFCC currently trying to break into the house. They have no warrant. They have nothing. I don't know. That's something. Is it right? Hello?
So that's the video. So, I mean, if you can go and watch the video there. But now, according to the reports that I just got just before we came on air, the arrest was finally made around 6:30 p.m. They finally got into his house and they've arrested him. They whisked him away through a Hilux vehicle. They said some protesters had come in front of his house to protest. They dispersed them with tear gas. So we do not understand. So the question I'm asking is, first of all, why would EFCC go through that hassle? I mean, why would you break down? See, this is the problem that I'm talking about. You see, we're complaining about jungle justice in Nigeria. The menial, yes, and the way, yes, upholding laws. You see them breaking the laws. Under no circumstance should you break down, you know, somebody's house to the point that, okay, the door wasn't breaking, people had to break through the roof. We need to start comporting ourselves, and that's how you see a policeman jumping on top of a vehicle, you know, or a road safety official jumping, or last mile official jumping in front of the vehicle. We should stop all of this, what's it called, forceful kinds of arrest. There are details. This man, there's no way he will be in this house for the next 3 months. Worst case scenario, if he's traveling somewhere, you just go and say, "Oga, please follow us somewhere." But again, why was there no, according to the allegations, that there was no, what's it called, warrant? Why was there no warrant for an arrest? Is it done anywhere in the world that you want to arrest somebody and you do not come with a warrant?
Well, it still goes to the level
crazy.
of impunity that we have tolerated in our nation as a whole. I mean, anybody can get away with anything. Nobody's answerable to anybody. There's nobody you can question about this situation. If it's in other crimes, you cannot go to someone. In fact, they will ask you, "Where's your warrant?" Where's even that warrant for you to even search, let alone take someone away to an unknown location? So, I mean, it still tells on what we're going through. All the many.
This is just a reflection Do you understand?
Been going through.
Yeah, and when you're talking, you want to fight jungle, you can't fight it when you have operatives like this.
What you see and what is being demonstrated echoes that what you are trying to prevent. But the question for me is, this is the EFCC, this is not the NDLEA, this is not the firearms. So he didn't look like he was resisting in that video. I haven't seen enough to say, but when you're talking about breaking doors, and they came in full force, and I'm like, it's
and this is financial
economic
crimes.
and financial crimes. Like, really?
On that note, let's take a break, because today I wanted to discuss something chill and not get energy. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, Nollywood actress and disc jockey Dorcas Shola Pap's son was trending on social media earlier this month, that's I think about last week or so, over her AMVC outfit. It was reported that the actress had paid the stylist 200,000 for a fabric of 470,000 naira and was enraged when she got something different from what she had ordered from the stylist. So she was almost saying she wasn't paying back, right? So earlier today, Erica from the Big Brother house reacted to the media personality Sally Suleiman's comment on a post on social media where she disclosed spending over 500,000 to attend an event in Lagos. In her response, Erica disclosed, "That's why I don't bother going out unless it's work related or for friends and family. When you spend all your money on outing, they'll forget about you and move on to the next trending person." So today we're asking, right? How much do you think should go into attending events in Lagos, and how is it affecting us, our pockets? Because it's not from me, it's not your pocket that it's coming from. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp 081-803-4663. You can tweet at us at Wisho Africa1 with the hashtag Wisho. Why is Uti very dramatic this evening?
I'm channeling my son, because I was holding myself when you were reading that, because I was is this not the same Erica who had the dress of 794,000, or is there a different Erica?
No, so what she said, right? Erica said that she only goes out for events, and that's why I'm saying that that dress at AMVCA was sponsored by, I think she's a brand ambassador for one brand. I don't want to mention the brand, but it was that brand that paid that $700,000 outfit. It's not from her personal money now, Haba.
We have personal money. You know her personal money. Unless you're telling me that it's the brand that made the dress that paid, sponsored her.
Oh, yes, now.
I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry. It's a far cry. Dorcas, smart girl, is crying over 200,000 naira plus 470,000 naira versus $794,000. Please, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
No, so what she said.
I hear you.
No, don't misquote her.
No, I'm not misquoting
her. Her own is that she only attends events that she's being paid for.
Me.
That is no, so they pay her to attend those events.
I agree, and I'm still saying you are paid to attend events. She only goes out for work. I'm sorry, it's too soon. Don't speak. Not on the things you are wearing to go out. Don't speak.
But okay, so let's come back to this event in Lagos and the cost, right, to the pocket. Because I attended the AMVC. I gave people my story. Our stylist said I should come and pay. Let me not say it out in public, but they said I should come and pay one money for a dress that I'm going to wear just once. And oh no, you have to whatever. So I was having a conversation with my friend, and she was like, "Wow, you are a TV person. You have to, you have to show up. You have to do the, when you go there, people should notice that you are there, and all of that, and all these things matter." But when this young lady, I think Sally Suleiman also, when she was posting that, she broke it down, right? The Ashwebi, the cost of the Ashwebi. Let me see if I can just quickly pull out what she said.
45,000.
45,000 for the Ashwebi.
Yeah.
Then she said
50 for the Ashwebi, 100 for the sewing.
50 for the Ashwebi, 100 for the sewing. Then she took flight of 150k, hotel 150k, gele time was 15k, makeup was 45k. So, you know, I mean, she said, and this is exclusive of the cost of logistics within Lagos. Obviously, she came from out of town to attend this event. But have you seen Lagos party of late? Or not even Lagos, all the parties of late. I mean, look at Rita Dominic's wedding. Yes, look at Rita Dominic's wedding. The wedding that just got concluded this weekend. What's her name? Inidima. I mean, beautiful outfits. Me, when I'm seeing all those beauty, his money I'm calculating. Like, how much do people really spend? And do you really have this money that you spend? Because the people we are benchmarking with, all the celebrities abroad, most times their outings are being sponsored. So if Versace will call you and say, you know what, I want you to be my muse for this event. You know, they really don't pay their own cash for this event. But I don't know how it plays out here in Lagos. But let me hear your thoughts, ladies.
So, I love where you just stopped now, because the whole job of a stylist is to find you an outfit, right? And 9 out of 10 times when they find you the outfit, you are representing the brand. So the brand needs the outfits to be at the event, to be photographed and all of that. So when you hear the celebrities on the red carpet, when they ask them the question, what are you wearing? It is marketing, right? So I have borrowed the diamonds. I've, so
but then they won't have the bouncers following them.
And whatever has given me the diamonds, the dress. So they're actually coached and prepped before they go on the runway to remember what they are wearing and who it's by, because that is the marketing. That is what gets the designers and the brands out there. So when you hire a stylist, you're not hiring a stylist to find you a dress to buy. You're hiring a stylist to find you an outfit for the event. So Oscars, Met Gala, that's how it works. So when I hear people here say, I got a stylist, but you are still paying for the outfit, I not really understand. So the stylist is putting you together. That's what it is. So we do it in a different way. So they find you the shoes, they find you this, and it's all this does is add to the cost. But I even want to go back to the trajectory that we followed to get to where we were today. You said something that was fantastic, and it's a reference point I've made in the past. The people that you are emulating, they are celebrities. So, we look at the Kardashian weddings, we look at celebrity weddings, and we've turned our everyday weddings now into celebrity affairs. So you find that you have people that got married in the early 90s. If you got married in Lagos before APC, Tinubu time and all of that, you block your street, put a canopy, or you take a field and you put canopies. Not the nice marquees we have now, canopy, the yellow, the green. You put canopy, and then you have the different people.
No, what parties have evolved?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm going on a journey. So you had all of those, and those were the Owambes of old, right? Then it became, you can't do parties, you can't close roads anymore, you have to have venues. Then we had the spring up of halls and all of that. And then makeup came in, gele came in, Ashwebi used to be a small thing, you just sew your, back in the day when we used to sew, there was no added material, you just sew your peplum skirt and top, and that was what it was, 6 pieces,
So A-line.
6 pieces, it was all straightforward. Then it evolved. We started to get event planners. We got event planners, then we got people that stage events, then you get people that light events, then you get... So it took on a world of its own. We didn't used to do bridal showers, we didn't used to do baby showers, then we started doing them. They became part of the event. Then you had people doing destination weddings. The recent one that I saw, and these ones now are brought on by social media, we started off with the videos. You hire a videographer, they do that nice picture of the shoe, the dress, the jewelry, they do documentary. That one came. Now we've taken it a step. Now it's not enough that we saw the wedding dress or we added after party dress. We added the
sometimes two.
Yes, we added the all the what's it called now, the native ones. When you do the native, you saw your own culture, you saw his culture. We added all of those things. The one that beats me now, the one that really, really gets me is the robe.
Yes.
I don't understand it. So it's not enough on the day for them to do documentary. to film you getting ready, to take pictures.
You have to wear a bridal robe.
Now wear a bridal robe.
And your bridesmaids will wear their robe.
And they will wear their robe. And then you all will now take pictures. Like, come on.
No, but wait. This has, because it's a huge market, right?
It is.
It is a huge market. And I'm wondering, how sustainable is this? Because I see some people, they are this part. I mean, there was Elegushi mother's 70th. You understand? So after you could see, then there was AY's baby shower and baby dedication. You could see that the same person go here.
A list of events.
But haven't you changed in the car before?
Hey, Uti, I was gonna say that before, even the weddings, it was just the bride that would change. Now, AMVCA, there was 2 outfits. You wear the red carpet. In fact, some people did 3.
Yeah, of course.
They wore red carpet, they wore event, and they wore the after party.
Yeah, but we're emulating the Oscars. That's what happens.
No, my finger. It is your field.
Well, unfortunately, I have to defend my field. It is a huge and thriving market. And it's, in all sincerity, it's a beautiful market. Events have become an art. So, like you rightly said, gone are the days when you just throw on, or even the bride self, you wear the same. No, there's a story to it. So you're taking people on a journey, which is really beautiful. I love the way that things have become more excellent in presentation, right? So now you can have events, you can have a picture of what you want your wedding to look like, or your event. Not just the weddings, there are different birthdays and all of that, AMVCAs and all of that. Yes, but we're talking about the cost to the individual, and there are different individuals in the scheme of things. There are the family members, there are the people doing the event, right? And then there are the family members, and then there are the friends, and then there are the well-wishers, and then there are the vendors, right? So when you have these group of people, I mean, these vendors are creating, what would I call it? They're creating an experience. Thank you very much. They're creating an experience for you, which comes at a cost. Because when you see certain designs, maybe whether it's in the decoration of the halls or in the bridal area, or, you know, all the trends that are going on now, you'd be like, wow, a lot of thought and precision and detail goes into some of these things. And those are some of the things that you're going to pay for. It's no longer those days you just put, you know, those funny flowers at the edge, or just, now it's an experience, like Uti rightly said. So it comes at a price. That's my point. Now the question is, how willing are people to pay that price? And that's where the problem is. Because when you look at where you are and what you want and your pocket, and the 3 do not measure up, and then you push yourself at a cost to meet up with the societal expectations, that's where the problem is going to start. Because it's going to cost you a lot. For some people, it's going to incur debt.
You'll be in debt, yes.
For some others, their savings are gone. For some others, children's school fees go into the mix. For some others, their rent goes in. For others, fuel. And then some people, you see some people, they finish and they spend another year
trying to pay
soaking gari or trying to pay up the debt. That's where the problem is. The pressure to meet up, that's what we're dealing with. And it comes at a cost. So many people are forcing themselves. These people who are having these events could afford, a lot of them could actually afford to pay for these events. There are people who are planned for these events. That's what some people do not know. Some people have created savings, or some, you know, they're putting it. I mean, my twin sister is probably, when it comes to planning, oh, sugar. She will plan from 2 years before. Everybody's birthday party, she would have been saving. She would have gone to ask for, because she wants to have an experience for them, right? So she will ask, get details, get what do they call it, discounts and all of those things, and begin to plan, begin to pay little. There's some places you pay a down payment and they lock up the date for you. So when you now see everything come together, you think it is she has money. Do you understand? It was somebody that planned the process to get to what they have in their mind. But a lot of people do not have planning culture. Oh, tomorrow, this month alone, you have 3 weddings. You've not decided, this is how much I have. If it's something that is very important to me, because guess what? Maybe that's where I have connections or I meet with networking. There's some kind of advantage for me. And I plan to be in those kind of circles. How much do I want? Okay, if I have 3, could I afford to actually throw in everything to one? And then where would I have for the others? Or what's my relationship? People don't ask all those questions. People don't plan for those things. At the end of the day, you have people pushing them. Oh, because this person is going to be there. You don't have the money. You don't have the means. You will go and borrow. You will go and spend money that you don't have. You will go in debt. Then when you finish, there are people who would finish and you're begging them, I'm a makeup artist. That's part of what I do. Pay me my money. You see them dancing and looking all gallant in wedding, but you are owing somebody. And that doesn't tell well on people's character. You have to be able to cut your coat according to your size. And some people, your clothes, that's what they say now. According to your material.
Not your size.
Because people think that it's until you spend so much that you can look good.
Yeah, you don't have
If you really want to look good, you will find ways.
Absolutely.
Not just planning it. There are even cheap and affordable ways to still look amazing without cutting truth.
Okay, on that note, let us take a break. When we come back, we want to open our phone lines. Stay with us, we'll be right back. All right, if you just tuned in, it's our Ladies' Night Out, and our focus today is events in Lagos, and we're asking the cost to the pocket. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at WaysHowAfrica1 with the hashtag WaysShow. Our phone line is now open. You know the rules. Please turn off the volume of your TV set, and the number to call is 07025007749. All right, so number when you were talking, I noted down 3 things. First of all, I can't for the life of me understand why burials. You would have to look so gallant in burial ceremony. It was the one that gave me that woke me up was Tiwa Savage's father's burial. The kinds of you are in a mourning state. Like, where do we even draw the lines with this event and the looks? Shouldn't there be some events that takes away all the glamour and all of that, a lot more sober event? That's one. Secondly, that a lot of people use events as fundraisers. Because I've heard so many people that today is party, tomorrow is party. All they are doing is because people are funding and sponsoring those things. So, I have my daughter just brought out a teeth. They will throw party. My daughter just started crawling. They will throw party and all of that. So, some people use those events just as a means to gather their friends together, the spraying money and all of that to get money. Then the third one, when you talked about networking, for goodness sake, how many of these events that you attend, you meet the people and all of that, how does it translate into transactions that eventually funds or refunds that money that you have spent, like an ROI? Right? Does it really translate these networks that we're talking about? Because this is why people would make excuses. My friend was telling me, if you want to go for an event, you better show up. If you don't want to, if you're not ready to show up, stay in your house. Spend that money, look good and all of that. Because you don't know who you meet. But I'm still asking this question. Even if I meet all the people, I say hello to all the people, or we take pictures and all of that, how does that translate into Naira and Kobo in my account? Right? So does it really work that people do get transactions after events like that? Does it happen?
Well, I have a friend who, in fact, he's even a guy, which is even more interesting for me, that he actually has events. When he's doing birthdays, something, he will celebrate it. And it was interesting because personally, he's not the kind of person, he's not frivolous. I don't know if you get what I mean. But in his parties, you can see the caliber of people and the conversation that goes on. At the end of the day, 2 or 3 or several deals are signed, sealed, and delivered. And parties going on.
Okay.
Birthday for child. We're in one corner, signing deals. And I was like, this is something to learn from. So at least somebody has his objectives screwed on, as in focused on the objective that they want to have. You're not just, you know how much you spent, but you know how you're going to get back in return, right? That's one. 2, the first question that you were asking, Nigerians overlearn. You know, anything that we do it 10 times over the people that we learned it from. So you see events, you see Met Gala, you see Grammys, they're wearing all of these. I saw a video on Instagram. I saw somebody who, as in she couldn't even, her dress, she could not, I'm sure if she stood by herself, she would tip over. Several people had to lift it on the sides for her to be able to walk. And I'm like, all in the name of red carpet, right? At the end of the day, we love to learn things, but we do not learn the motivation that people used to do the things that they do. So when we're doing it, we don't have the right kind of motivation. You just do it, you've done party and you spend so much money, and at the end of the day, you have nothing to show for it. While somebody else would do that and get back 10 times over what they spent. So who is being foolish in that regard? Then I wanted to add an aspect that I missed while I was talking earlier, the cost. Some people, it has cost them relationships, friendships, because you choose one person over the other. I'll do ashrebi for this, or what is ashrebi? Ashrebi in real terms is actually for family members. So you have people who are doing, my wedding, I told my mom bluntly that I do not want any ashrebi. And she was like, no, if there was going to be, it's going to be for my sisters. Everybody, the color is this. Where? Come, be creative with what you want to come with.
You're not one of those people
but I'm not, because at the time, cost was a problem. And by the time I checked, I said, people may not be able to afford this. So why put them under that pressure? But people are not thinking in that direction. Everybody wants it.
In fact, it is that
now it's
that
about,
gives you the
it's about
card.
Oh yes, now it's about competition and all sorts of things now. So you find out that a lot of people's motivation is not directed constructively. And of course, at the end of the day, we can see the results where they will now, by the time that stories come up on social media, you'll be like, wow.
Just be careful. What's that saying? Follow who know
road.
The truth is, and Norma has touched on a lot of these things, there are people who would do events. I remember a friend of mine, when her sister got married, she said her mother was a director in a company, a particular company in Nigeria at the time. And the chairman of that company, she said the check that was given by the chairman paid for the wedding with change. And this was someone who gave away 25 yards of material as party souvenir. She gave away stacks of books. So the souvenirs were segmented by age and group. And she still made that money back. Even in more recent times, I had a friend who, in fact, the event planner now had too much money. So they bypassed the person doing the event and were just sending money to the event planner to the extent where the event planner now had too much money for the event. Now juxtapose that against people who are now trying to keep up with the culture and the Joneses, and they're trying to do this. So some people have the event and then they've cashed out all the way to the bank.
Straight up.
And then you have some people who then have the event and post the event. It's now like, okay, where's the money to do other things, and they're in debt. And this goes for celebrants, and it can also go for attendees, because even the price of yourself attending, what it takes to sew outfits today, you know, we're such a visual with social media and all of that. We see an outfit, you take it to the tailor. By the time they count all the, I saw an outfit. I was saying it the other day on the show. I had to tell the tailor, I said, start removing one by one, because I will only wear this outfit once. And because she broke the outfit down, you see it. If you're not a seamstress or whatever, you don't know what the makeup is. Then they tell you there is trimming, there is feather, there is something. Then they start counting all the prices together. And the next thing, you're ending up with making one outfit for 200,000. And I'm like, how much was, I like that you gave the Tiwa example. How much was that Ankara? Yet look at the designs that came out of it. It's a fantastic testament to our creativity and to the industries that we have developed. But mine is, stay in your lane. Everything can be done tastefully within your budget, as long as your eyes are not big. If you don't have Dangote money, don't try it. You can't compete. We all want dream things. We have dreams and visions in our heads. What you need to find in today's world where you have so many vendors is find someone who can translate your vision to your budget realistically. Don't tell her I want Dangote when your money is... She won't answer you. She'll just walk away. So the reality of it is, that's where for me I think the miscalculation always is that we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're trying to do things that we see on social media. You see a celebrity, Rita Dominic, having events and doing weddings. And I know that we don't pay a lot of credence, to be fair, and I think this is the other problem. A regular American will not compare themselves to a Kardashian when they have plans. No. But because our celebrities are accessible, we don't see them in that light. You will see a celebrity wear an outfit. Do you understand? You see a celebrity wear an outfit, then you will not rock up to that same person that made the outfit, because in your mind, I should be this person is in Nigeria. So you can... Then you now hear the price and you want to kill yourself. Because I see, what's her name now? The lady that does the Tubo. You will go on Tubo's page and you will see people writing, when is my wedding time? Tubo will make... No, they're not even asking how much. They're just saying, I can't wait for it to be my wedding so that you will sew my outfit. This is somebody that is now at the stage where she herself is a celebrity. She's making outfits for the Olori of Warri. She's making... Do you get what I mean? So, there are some things that a regular person just be like, beg,
let me find my level.
This is where my guys want to go. So by the time you are getting married, you've now put so much pressure on what you think you want to attain. Guys, those outfits, if you can rent it, be fiscally responsible.
But guess what? So for the AMVCAs, for instance, right? I was saying to myself that some of those outfits, you may never wear them ever again. So why do you have to go and make a dress that you will not wear again?
No.
Why don't we have rental companies evolve from this, that if you have all these events, red carpet events and all of that, you just come, they do a fitting. My wedding dress, I didn't buy it. I rented it and I returned it back. Dry cleaned. You understand?
I tell you how much my
wedding dress. I didn't even buy the wedding dress. I said I rented it and I returned it back, because for me, it was not going to be useful for me after those 3 or 4 hours I was going to wear it, right? So, I mean, the culture of that you have to own something, those things they are all long gone. And again, if you're somebody that attends events consistently or constantly or whatever, you shouldn't be spending your money. It is foolishness, right, for you to spend those kinds of money that you're not going to have back.
We're just not there yet.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. We are not big enough yet. So imagine today, you say we rent outfits, and what is the goal? If you have a stylist, the gamut of the industry of fashion, remember when we had Obina here? We are not at that size yet. So for the AMVCAs, we've come a long way, right? Because what are we doing now? Our celebrities are wearing outfits that are statement pieces.
Really beautiful.
That our designers are now making a name off the back of. That is what it is. Those events are meant to, in addition to showcasing the talent, it's showcasing the creative industry as well from a fashion perspective. Because what happens is, why do you have haute couture lines and you have ready to wear? Because I see, what's it called? I see Privé and I say, okay, what is it that this guy is making in my price range? And I go and buy. Not everybody can afford to wear the haute couture you see on the runways. So the fact is, I am selling something. Our industry, our designers are not at the point. We had Obina here telling us about the cost and everything. So they can't even afford right now to say, you know what, I'm going to make an outfit. And the number of celebrities we have is still so small. So imagine today, Rita wears an outfit. Then tomorrow at the event, Toke wears the outfit. Social media immediately will say, who wore it better? So we don't have the size, but we're going somewhere. We're getting there. because we need to understand the business around these
I
things.
was going to ask now.
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line? Because for me, I wasn't going to be collecting any award. I wasn't presenting any award. And I felt like it was okay for me to just dress normal dress and go to the event. You know, but someone is saying that no, well, you shouldn't do that. Where do we draw the line?
No, but you look nice. There's nothing wrong with not looking nice, right?
That's what I'm saying. So where do we draw the line with the outfit? Because sometimes now, it's like the attendees are dressing even more glamorous than the celebrities. No, I'm talking about even in weddings now, for instance. You will see outfits that attendees are wearing, almost like you want to rival the bride and the groom. No, nah.
No, but that's what I'm saying, that culturally, that's what we do, right? Everybody wants to trend.
It's competition.
Everybody wants to have a hot pick. So if you imagine, how did we end up with events having hashtags? What are you hashtagging other than to see the event, see the outfits and the events?
Well, that's
so the
true.
fact is, you want something that's going to make you stand out. If everybody's wearing the same fabric, who's going to remember my outfit? I remember when who was it? It was Richard Dominick's wedding. I think that they wore the green and all the gillies were looking crazy, and I was like, what's wrong with just tying the fan gilly and let's move on? Yeah, but everybody's trying to stand out.
Everybody did stand out.
Exactly. So I stand by it and I say, you know what? Follow who no road. Follow whose bank account is around your own. So that, because the problem is not, if you can afford it, hey ho, have at it. If it's a copy situation, go for it. If it's a Dangote situation, have fun. But if you can't afford it, don't put yourself out trying to keep up with the
But another wedding that is coming up is what's his name? Mr. Easy. And
Temi's sister, Temi, yeah.
Hey, Oluwa.
Well, that day, just stay at home.
I will just be in my house.
We'll watch you on social media.
We can get invitation just in case.
I'm not going to spend 500. I remember we have a mutual friend who was friends with let me call it, at that point in time, it was the highest office in the land, and there was an event, and she was going to fly into Lagos for the event. My friend said, which lace am I going to buy to compete with this?
There's no
she
point.
just went and bought Indian sari. She said, I will stand out.
That was
and
creative.
she bought her sari and she looked awesome. And so you have to be creative, guys. You don't have to break the bank.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to encourage people to do, because people see it, and I know it's addictive. You can spend an hour looking at the hashtag of one event and you're just dreaming. When will I trend like this? When will it be my outfit? When will I wear tuba? When will I wear Vicky James? You're thinking, but guys, it's okay. There are assets that last longer.
In fact, Riti, once you start, like you said rightly, it's an addiction. It's hard to stop. So that's where you see a lot of people running into all kinds of debt, and they can't stop. Don't worry, I'll pay you. It's not just how many they say. I had somebody who owed me for years and had the effrontery to say, hey, if I owed you this long, why can't you just wait for a few? I told her, after today, you will see the other side of me that you've never seen before. And when she saw that I meant it, the money came out. So sometimes you just see people pushing buttons just because they want to see how far you can go. And which brings me to some of the vendors, right? So these are people who have not attained that celebrity status and then you want them to give you outfits for free. Come on. They go to the monies they spend. It's not that some company is sponsoring, so they just need to take money from there. It's from their pocket. And as they spend all that money, try to put together your dream outfit or your dream look, and then you start speaking in tongues because you think that they are not worth.
No, I'm talking about a pain point.
Oh yes. I have to.
Somebody said cut your coat according to your material. That's ZO on YouTube. She said translate your vision into your budget. I love that. I think that was what Uti said. Yeah.
So I have this one. I think it's from Daniel Evil, our Waze regular fan, and he says, "Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters. Of what are you saying? #Waze. Concerning events in Lagos and the cost to the pockets, you cannot help but talk about it. Haba. How can someone in her right mind and sense spend $794,000 On an outfit alone, I'm not sure that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, it is? Oh, right.
They found
this is ridiculous and total madness. I thought I saw a bull on.
No, that was
red.
That was
dress.
Toyi Lawani, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is ridiculous and total madness. Sister Uti is right. When you are in a glass house, you do not throw stones. People spend so much on gala dress, makeup, flight tickets, hotel accommodation, all in the name of wedding and occasion. All these money can be spent wisely by solving problems, e.g. by donating to charity, orphanages, and giving to the poor. People don't cut their coat according to their material. They borrow for events and go back and soak gari. God will help them to spend wisely. All right, thank you, Daniel.
Honestly, final comments, ladies. What do you think, going forward?
I have a question. The Owambe kings and queens. You know there's people that specialize in Owambe. I don't know how you all do it. I will not. I don't even get it, because you know the worst part is after spending all of this money, you get to the event. Hi.
That's it.
They look for where to sit. That's if you eat.
If you don't find
that's if you eat. That is if you find somewhere to sit.
The dress will not even allow you to eat.
If you find somewhere to sit, if you find food, I mean all of those things, in 4, 5, 6 hours, bag as a bag, you finish. Go home. The outfit goes in a bag somewhere and
never
that's
comes
the end
out.
of the day.
What do you have
It's
a
just
comment?
not a smart investment, please.
It's not.
My comment says, good evening, ladies. I'm really surprised the extent people, especially ladies, can go just to belong. With the high cost of living, some still have misplaced priorities. I was in a dilemma in February when I needed to buy an expensive asoebi for a wedding. I had to buy it though I don't normally buy such, because my husband insisted I pick it, as the guy wanted me to wear same thing with his sisters as a mark of honor. To be sincere with you, it took me some months before I stopped thinking of the money involved. I think it's time we stop thinking of what society and family expect you to do just to please people. Thanks and stay blessed. Thank you, Bissy, for sharing that.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think it's a good way to wrap the conversation. Meal, I would say, if you can afford it, But I mean, for the people that go to events because you're hoping to get deals, then be very strategic about it. Absolutely. It doesn't mean that you have to go bankrupt or you start owing people and running and not picking your calls again because you're owing money. Sakwa is real in this Nigeria right now, so we have to be careful. But thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Uti. Thank you, Norma. And thank you to the viewers that sent in their messages, and also on YouTube as well. So before we go, do ensure you follow us on the Instagrams at Way Show Africa. You can interact with us further. Drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, it's a very sweet quote. I like it. It says, when you know the impact of little expenses, you realize that there's nothing, right, little in this world. You think it's much more money I'm spending, but by the time you sit down and put the cost together, it's a lot that you're spending on some of these things. So you might want to cut down on, those kinds of, take Erica's cue. And only attend important events, strategic events. All right, we'll see you guys live tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Barbing, I pay my rent. On the Barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
A year after a mob attacked the U.S. Capitol to overturn an election, how far has the investigation moved, and who is being held accountable? Go inside the hallways of the Hill and find out how close America was to losing and keeping its democracy. Come on, let's go! Next on The Inside Story, Capitol attack 1 year later. Hi, I'm Katherine Gibson, VOA's congressional correspondent, and welcome to my workplace, the U.S. Capitol. A little more than a year ago, this citadel of democracy was overrun by a mob of people with apparent intent to disrupt the official process of declaring the winner of the 2020 presidential election. 1 year later, the legal and political impact of the Capitol attack is still being determined. Ahead, details on the arrests, the search for accountability, and American attitudes on the January 6th attack. First, where President Joe Biden places the blame.
It has been a year since supporters of Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol to stop lawmakers from certifying the results of the 2020 presidential election won by Joe Biden.
1 year ago today, in this sacred place, democracy was attacked.
Without once mentioning Donald Trump by name, Biden laid the blame squarely on him.
For the first time in our history, a president had not just lost an election, he tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power as a violent mob breached the Capitol.
Biden also blamed Trump for what Democrats call the big lie, the narrative that the 2020 election was stolen, a baseless claim the former president and some Republicans continue to push to this day.
Because he values power over principle, because he sees his own interest as more important than his country's interest, than America's interest, and because his bruised ego matters more to him than our democracy or our Constitution. He can't accept he lost.
Trump canceled his planned news conference and said in a statement that this political theater is all just a distraction for the fact Biden has completely and totally failed. In a statement, Mitch McConnell, the Senate's top Republican, accused Democrats of trying to exploit this anniversary to advance partisan policy goals. Many observers say American democratic institutions had been under stress long before the assault. Strengthening voting rights and election integrity was highlighted by Vice President Kamala Harris as a needed response to the insurrection.
Will it be remembered as a moment that accelerated the unraveling of the oldest, greatest democracy in the world? Or a moment when we decided to secure and strengthen our democracy for generations to come?
The siege has had a global impact. Adversaries, including Russia and China, have used it to defend their undemocratic systems.
For Putin to continue to push the message around the world that U.S. democracy is not something to be longed for, that it is as chaotic and broken as the Russian system is. And for China to argue, as it does, that it has an alternative that is superior.
Biden rejected the arguments.
From China to Russia and beyond, they're betting that democracy's days are numbered. They've actually told me democracy is too slow, too bogged down by division, to succeed in today's rapidly changing, complicated world. And they're betting. They're betting America will become more like them and less like us. They're betting that America is a place for the autocrat, the dictator, the strongman. I do not believe that. That is not who we are. That is not who we have ever been. And that is not who we should ever be.
The road ahead is challenging. Fueled by election fraud conspiracies, Republicans in multiple states have championed legislation limiting voting access and giving them more power over their states' election systems. Democrats say these measures will disadvantage them at the ballot box and are a threat to democracy. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News, Washington.
1 year later, there are still questions about the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol and who was ultimately responsible for the worst attack on the seat of Congress in 2 centuries. Many of former President Trump's supporters claim the breach was not serious, while critics say Trump directed his supporters to overturn Joe Biden's election victory, effectively undermining the democratic process. Rioters roamed the halls of the Capitol building, raising security concerns for lawmakers and staffers who were preparing to certify Biden's election victory.
I'll never forgive former President of the United States and his lackeys and his bullies that he sent to the Capitol for the trauma that was exerted on our staff.
The U.S. House of Representatives moved swiftly to impeach Trump just days after the riot, alleging he was guilty of inciting the insurrection. But the U.S. Senate acquitted the former president of that charge in February 2021.
He is hereby acquitted.
Lawmakers have held numerous hearings on the security failures of that day. In late June, the U.S. House formed a special select committee to investigate the actions of then President Trump. The panel has issued subpoenas to compel former White House officials and Trump campaign staff to testify about the president's actions that day and the days leading up to the attack.
Find Mark Randall Meadows in contempt of Congress.
The committee is expected to release a report on its investigation before the November 2022 midterm elections, but the findings are not legally binding. In the U.S. courts, 704 individuals have been charged at the federal level with offenses ranging from misdemeanor trespassing charges to more serious charges, including violence against law enforcement and members of the media. Researchers estimate about 70 to 80 individuals involved in militant networks face even more serious charges of conspiracy.
These are the hierarchical domestic violent extremist groups, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, some 3%ers mixed in there, who are alleged to have not just gone to the Capitol to see the speech, to protest, to march, but with a concerted conspiracy ranging from the collection of funds, the dispersal of weapons, of marching up the steps of the Capitol in a stack formation, to leaving guns at a Virginia hotel.
5 people present at the January 6th riot died. The question still being debated is whether the chaos developed spontaneously or was part of a planned insurrection directed by the then President of the United States. I'm here on the east front of the U.S. Capitol, and I'm looking down at the walk to work that I take every day and have made thousands of times over the years as I walk to work with lawmakers and legislative aides and the thousands of support staff. We all make this our routine place of work, and I'm usually thinking about the story that I'm going to be writing that day. Of course, on January 6, 2021, I was instead watching thousands of rioters overwhelm these grounds. And I was thinking about how the most secure building in the world, where I've always felt safe, was suddenly the most unsafe place. There were rioters breaking glass. They were overwhelming U.S. Capitol Police that I know personally. And all I could think about was whether or not the colleagues that I see every day would be safe in these hallways. We're just steps away from the chamber of the US Senate right now, and in a hallway where I do a lot of my reporting, shouting questions during press conferences with Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. But of course, on the day of the Capitol riot, this was very different. It's a place where a lot of the most famous images of that day happened, from rioters rappelling down the walls of the US Senate to carrying Confederate flags past some of these paintings. We're also very close to the spot where US Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman directed rioters away from US senators, dramatically changing the course of that day. That's how I'm going to remember this hallway from now on. Of the 725 people arrested and charged with crimes for the Capitol attack, more than half work in what are considered white-collar jobs, including business owners, architects, doctors, and lawyers. That analysis by University of Chicago professor Robert Pape also shows that just 13% of those arrested were part of violent militia groups. So who are these people? Our Carolyn Presutti shows us some of them.
Of the thousands of supporters of former President Trump who stormed the Capitol, more than 725 have been arrested and charged with crimes. Floridian Robert Scott Palmer received the stiffest sentence yet, more than 5 years for assaulting a police officer with a dangerous weapon. Palmer is seen here spraying officers with a fire extinguisher, then throwing the canister at police. VOA was scheduled to interview Palmer, but he's in jail in quarantine after catching COVID. In a letter to the judge before sentencing, Palmer blamed former President Donald Trump and his advisors, writing, "They kept spitting out the false narrative about a stolen election and how it was our duty to stand up to tyranny." Another Capitol rioter from Florida, Felipe Marquez, says fake stories about human trafficking led him to join the uprising and to invade a senator's office. Marquez pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct in a restricted building and received 18 months probation. He told VOA in an email, "I would like to leave this in my past as a mistake."
I was trying to get more known for conservative content and getting views on YouTube, and the way the events of that day folded were terrible.
Name, gender, state.
John Lewis with George Washington University's program on extremism is tracking each case of those who stormed the Capitol.
You have defendants from 18 to 80 years old. You have individuals from every walk of life, from a salon owner to other business owners to firemen to law enforcement to military.
More than 80% were charged based on evidence gathered from social media posts, often their own. Like Texan Jennifer Ryan, who gained notoriety after tweeting this photo in front of a broken window, along with a tweet that read, "We just stormed the Capitol. It was one of the best days of my life." Ryan later tweeted that she was not going to jail because she is blonde and white. Here's what she said as she left the courthouse after pleading guilty to demonstrating inside the Capitol and receiving a 60-day sentence.
I walked into the Capitol for 2 minutes, and I'm remorseful of that.
Ryan claimed her tweets, not her actions at the Capitol, got her into trouble.
I regret ever tweeting, but, it's a free country.
Some of those charged, like Yvonne St. Cyr, are unrepentant.
I own what I do, but I still believe in what I did was the right thing.
Others are not commenting on their case, including the man who propped his feet onto House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's desk and allegedly stole some of her mail. Instead, Richard Barnett, who faces 7 charges, is complaining about jail conditions, including solitary confinement.
You can love me, you can hate me. You can love me and hate what I did. You can not like anything about me. But you have to put that aside, because this isn't about me. This is about our federal prison system in America and what they are doing to people.
Trials have been avoided so far, as defendants have accepted plea bargains, sometimes for a lesser charge. Court observers say hundreds of remaining cases will take years to adjudicate. Carolyn Presutti, VOA News, Washington.
Investigations by both the Justice Department and Congress will try to uncover the extent to which political extremist groups participated in the planning and execution of the Capitol attack. Seamus Hughes is the deputy director of George Washington University's program on extremism. We spoke about the spike in U.S. political radicalism.
So January 6th was a unique moment. It was a perfect storm, right? So it had the mainstream politicians advocating for it. You had social media that was asleep at the wheel. You had a extremism movement online that was kind of very united on this idea. And conspiracy theories that all walked around January 6th being the moment. So since January 6th, we've had about 700 people who've been charged and arrested related to that event. The vast majority are kind of a pedestrian in nature, almost typical profile. Yoga instructor, construction worker, realtor in Texas. Like you said, they range in charges from misdemeanors to felonies. The vast majority actually weren't part of organized groups. The organized groups are the most concerning for law enforcement's perspective. So those groups are the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, for the most part, and a few 3%ers. So the Oath Keepers are an organized militia group that have been planning and organized for a number of years, this idea of pushing back on what they saw as government overreach. The Proud Boys is kind of a very interesting group. Think of it like a very misogynistic, aggressive pack of men, mostly men, who go around the room kind of attacking other groups. And then the 3%ers who believe that they're the only ones who are standing up against the Republic. So why is law enforcement so concerned about them? Is if you look at the images on January 6th, think of the guys who were walking up in stack formation in camouflage up the steps of the Capitol. So they're organized, they know what they're doing. There is some early reporting that says that they may not have been the first ones to breach the Capitol, but they encouraged others to do so. And once they saw the opportunity, they seized it. So about 3 years ago, the FBI director was asked about how many active investigations he has in all 50 states for domestic terrorism. He said 850. He was asked 3 months ago, and he said 2,700. So we've seen a very large rise in domestic extremism groups. You know, that is a coalescing of the use of social media, so going down a rabbit hole of algorithms that gets you down the path where you don't want to go. You have these groups that have been operating with relative impunity for a number of years. The U.S. government, the intelligence community, law enforcement have largely been focused on foreign threats, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and taken their eyes off these domestic groups and allowed them to recruit and radicalize in a clip they haven't had since Oklahoma City. Unfortunately, I think we're all to blame for this. If you look at not only social media, but kind of mainstream sites, the idea that you push this, that the election was a fraud, that election doesn't have integrity upon it, that plays into a larger conspiracy theory. And this sense of, and we also can't discount what happened in the last 3 years for COVID. You have everyone locked down on their computers, not able to interact, feeling like the government's restricting their ability to do something. And so this gave them a ride to do something. And so they just kind of got fed into that, again, that rabbit hole. They kept going down and down, where you're in a normal group on Facebook, and before you know it, you're in a QAnon group. And then you're going to a rally, and then you're going to January 6th. It's not that hard of a jump. Social media has not done a very good job when it comes to domestic extremism. They tend to have not policed their own sites. They haven't trained their content moderators on doing what they need to do. And to be fair, they haven't been pressured to do so. You know, every time they go up to Congress, they get kind of very random questions, not targeted. There's no bills that have any real legs in order to regulate them, so they're under no pressure to do so. And in order to do so, we're going to have to, as a society, say, enough is enough. We can't allow this to happen. We have to figure out a way to rein this in, all while understanding this is kind of a private company can set its own terms and services, but there's something to be said about shaming, right? There's something to be said about, listen, you know what's going on your platform. You've got to step up and do something. You saw what happened on January 6th, and there's some culpability there. It's clearly a growing problem. We also need to put it in context. And, January 6th happens, but 2 weeks later, the president's inaugurated. There's no rally in D.C. The Justice for January 6th rally in the fall, very few people showed up. In many ways, we've hopefully learned the lessons in terms of getting better security, better intelligence, better information sharing at the national level. My concern is at the state level. We clearly are not on the same page in all 50 states on how to address this issue, and we're seeing these groups, whether it be the Proud Boys or others, move back away from a national model to a state and local model, and they're able to recruit people in their neighborhoods. And unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be a problem that's going to go away. If you look at the threat in the U.S., it's basically fractured. You have ISIS, you have Al-Qaeda, you have white supremacists, you have militia groups, you have QAnon, you have incels, you've got everybody on the map. It makes law enforcement's job a lot harder, and it's going to be, quite frankly, a mess for the next few years.
Political dividing lines are being hardened as former President Donald Trump continues to falsely claim the 2020 election was stolen from him. His influence on the Republican Party is evident as several key states are changing election laws to make it easier to reject results. VOA White House correspondent Anita Powell examines Trump's political influence ahead.
This is the face that launched thousands of angry people on the U.S. Capitol in one of the most stunning days in American history. The few thousand protesters who ended up entering the Capitol that January day sought out lawmakers, in particular House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former Vice President Mike Pence, as they attempted to formalize Joe Biden's victory over Donald Trump in the November 2020 presidential election. The mob erected gallows, assaulted police and journalists, vandalized, and looted offices. The violence and chaos left 5 people dead, wounded 138 police officers, resulted in charges against more than 720 participants, and landed Trump a last-minute impeachment, his second, just days before he left office. Trump maintains the poll was rigged in the face of overwhelming evidence that there was no election fraud, as do some of his supporters, who continue to attend his post-presidential rallies.
I'm here to see our rightful president that actually won this election, and I just want to hear what he has to say.
Trump was planning to address his followers again on January 6th, but he canceled the event and says he'll instead address his followers at a rally planned for January 15th in Arizona. Observers say he's been busy all year trying to influence sympathetic lawmakers.
So he's trying to limit voting access in states that have diverse populations or ever more diverse populations like Georgia and Texas. He's trying to get people like Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene, 2 members of Congress, to get them more of their own kind of people elected who will do things such as pursue policies designed to keep immigrants out of the United States, policies designed to take the United States out of its international alliances like the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So he has an America First agenda, he has an ego agenda, and he has an agenda about trying to rewrite history to match his false narrative, and he's pursuing that every day.
If anything, says analyst Suzanne Spalding, who leads the Defending Democratic Institutions project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, this galvanizing event has only further divided the United States politically. Republicans who spoke out against Trump right after January 6th seem to have gone silent in the past year. More troubling, she said, polls show that 1 in 3 Americans believes violence against the government is justified. This seems to have given Trump fuel.
I suspect in that sense he has felt emboldened. I think there was, again, in the very first hours after that, those events, a sense among some of the Republican members of Congress that perhaps he had gone too far, and that they thought they had some breathing room to distance themselves. And unfortunately, what seems to have happened is that he has not lost his grip on the Republican Party.
Without naming him, Biden laid blame at Trump's feet in a speech at the Capitol on the attack's anniversary.
He has done what no president in American history, the history of this country, has ever done. He refused to accept the results of an election and the will of the American people.
Trump will likely reference Biden's words during the January 15th rally. But Spalding says the American people, not politicians, deserve the last word here.
I'm always struck by our national anthem, the words that we sing at ballparks and sport arenas all around the country. That starts with a question and ends with a question. It starts with the question of, is the flag still flying? We saw it through the night, through the battle, but now it's the morning. And the question is, does that flag still wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave? That's how it ends, with a question mark. And all of us must be part of making sure that that answer every day is yes.
So, a year later, which flag is it going to be? Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
That's all for now. Follow me on Twitter at KGYP. That's KGYP. Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at VOA News, and stay up to date online at voanews.com. See you next week for the Inside Story.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 they pay.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
On Plus TV News now, operatives of the EFCC pick up Okorocha from his Abuja residence. Dino Melaye loses senatorial ticket to TJ Yusuf in Kogi. South Africa's Ramaphosa discusses developments in Africa during visit from Germany's shows. Good evening, I'm Olamide Adeyemi. This is the news now. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has picked up Senator Rochas Okorocha from his residence. The agency had broken into the residence after gunshots were heard in the vicinity, insisting the journalists leave the premises and forcefully ejecting everyone in the residence. The EFCC had arrived at Okorocha's residence in Maitama to effect his arrest, who, according to the agency, had refused to honor invitations after jumping the administrative bail earlier granted him by the commission. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has called on executives of banking institutions in West Africa to forge closer collaboration to tackle economic challenges confronting the sub-region. According to a statement signed by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, Buhari made the call while receiving a delegation from the West African Bankers Association, led by its president, Yerno Sai, at the State House, Abuja. In his address, the president noted that the sub-region must find a common understanding and ground to address low access to financial services and recovering from the post-COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, a former lawmaker representing Kogi West, Senator Dino Melaye, has lost the People's Democratic Party ticket to a 7th House Representative member, Honorable TJ Yusuf. In his rerun election conducted, Honorable TJ defeated Senator Dino Melaye by 163 to 99 votes to pick the PDP ticket. Yusuf, while speaking after he was declared the winner, extended the olive branch to his co-contestants, urging them to join hands with him to win the general election. Now, confusion and controversies dogged the exercise of Ogun State People's Democratic Party PDP Assembly, House of Representatives and Senate primaries over misinformation about the actual candidates. Stakeholders in Ogun Central Senatorial District claimed that the candidates that emerged through the electoral process were not the ones broadcasted by the party secretariat, hence vowed to take legal action. Meanwhile, the State Secretary of PDP, Sunday Sholare, told newsmen that the primaries in Abeokuta Metropolis were moved to the party secretariat for security reasons.
The certified true copy from the INEC communicating to National Working Committee of PDP, where we have the list across 136 wards in Ogun State, and we also have a national delegate, one per local government, which was communicated. And we are excited to hold these primaries with this delegate list. So on Sunday, they came, and they were also, we saw some other fake lists here and there. But we had our primaries in those designated areas communicated to the INEC across the state. And we came up with the results, and these primaries were duly monitored by INEC officials throughout the state. And they came up with their report, the results, and so on, and they passed it to the appropriate quarters. And what we are reading in the paper is people were saying some people emerged somewhere, a primary that is not known to the guidelines, they had it at the party secretariat, and they were parading themselves as candidates of the party.
We are going to court. If they are not giving us our mandate, we are going to court. The court will settle the matter for us. That is the truth, nothing but the truth.
Material came late. People from Abuja didn't, come in good time. Exercise that were meant to have taken place since 10 a.m. in the morning did not commence until around 5 p.m. in the evening. And before you do accreditation, before you do a lot of things, then time will have gone. And you will notice that what we are doing here could not have been, done better anywhere other than this place. Security of lives and property matter to us, particularly life of our delegate. So it is just in the interest of, the healthy assurance of our delegate and healthy existence of the party.
The Labour Party in Ogun State has called for inclusive governance from leaders that will eventually emerge as the forthcoming general election draws near. Akinpelu Shogole, while delivering a speech at the party's swearing-in of new executive in Abeokuta, the state capital, maintains that inclusive governance will help in delivering the dividends of democracy to the people.
This is my solemn oath. So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, honorable members.
What is very, very germane to us is the fact that all of the youth restiveness, all of the youth problems, all of the youth unemployment, and all those things, if we don't begin to have an inclusive governance to expand the economic prowess of our state, we will still be having trouble. The idea is that Labour Party is engaging in not just looking to Abuja, but to look at all of the capability and resources.
This Congress has brought today has brought the machinery that will cool down all arguments, all stumbling blocks, all opposition that has been bedeviling us, hindering us from benefiting from the dividends of democracy. Our people have been malnourished, have been starved of the rightful dividends that should accrue to them.
And now, as aspirants intensify consultations ahead of the presidential primaries of the All Progressive Congress, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has met with delegates from Ebonyi and Abia State in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Shortly after meeting with the delegate, the Vice President told newsmen that his meeting was to woo the delegates to vote for him as APC candidate for the 2023 presidential election. Professor Osinbajo also spoke on the nation's economy, security, other vital issues.
A very robust conversation on many national issues, the economy, security, exchange rate, inflation, so many, broad range of issues.
And I think that has been very fruitful. We've been able to, reach several different conclusions about what to do going forward. And also we've talked about party issues as well. So it's a very robust engagement, and the conversations have been...
A priest of the Catholic Church and governorship aspirant on the platform of the All Progressive Congress APC in Benue State, Reverend Father Isent Alia, has described a suspension order by the Bishop of Boko Catholic Diocese, William Aveya, as a normal practice of the church laws. Father Alia said that, as stated clearly in the letter of suspension, he is only suspended from celebrating public Eucharistic masses but remains a priest of the Catholic Church forever. While making a public statement to journalists in Makurdi, the governorship aspirant stated that he was fully aware of the decision of the church right from the day he took the decision to answer the overwhelming calls of Benue people to contest the governorship of the state.
Having understood all that and known what would come in terms of the letter that came, I think in conscience it is an appropriate and right judgment that I made. It's not about me. The church is about the salvation of souls. And something tells me from above that the choice is not from me and about me, but just about the poor people who have been suppressed, oppressed, forgotten and rejected. The people, my people of the state, who have been totally abandoned by our current regime. It is not in the bad light that the letter came. The church, the Roman Catholic Church, is a political, because we have all groups of memberships of partisan politics into the church. So if now the church chooses to be political, partisan, then something will be wrong. So it is in good faith that the letter was served me, and I appreciate my bishop for defending the church and for ensuring that the right thing is done. I already knew the repercussions that would come. Please, no one should throw any insult on my leadership of the church. It is my primary constituency. After this mission of political salvation of my state, I'm going back into my constituency. I love my priesthood, and that should be made very clear. I am a priest, and I remain a priest forever.
The Nigerian Medical Association has elected a new president, Uche Roland, at its 62nd Annual General Conference and Delegates Meeting in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. The association also advised state government to focus more on revitalizing and funding general hospitals rather than getting involved in teaching hospitals. The report.
Briefing newsmen in Port Harcourt, the newly elected president emphasized that the most important thing for him and his team is to bring unity to the health sector. Ojema said that most Nigerian hospitals are in a state of decay and therefore called for proper funding and attention to the health sector from political leaders who are aspiring for various positions.
Hospitals are not prisons, and so it's supposed to be clean. Go overseas and see what a ward looks like. See what a clinic looks like. A lot of state governments, I'm sorry to say this, are jumping into teaching hospitals and they cannot carry it. Neglecting the secondary healthcare system of the general hospitals. I will call on our governors of the states. Focus on your general hospitals. Everybody will go and establish a teaching hospital that they can't even fund. And therefore, the teaching hospital is on strike. Look at Abia State University Teaching Hospital. Go to Imo State University Teaching Hospital. It's all debt. And I believe that we're also going to take care of our medical students.
The NMA boss, who called on the government at all levels to make the environment conducive for medical health practitioners, directed the Abia State branch of the association to explore options of a legitimate strike that must involve all doctors in the state to achieve the payment of salary arrears to the state workers.
ATM urged political stakeholders to bring to the fore concrete agenda for health to demonstrate willingness to strive for a robust healthcare delivery system as a key dividend to Nigerians. ATM, in the second resolution, urged the Federal Ministry of Health and other relevant stakeholders to institute mechanisms that will facilitate the speedy implementation of the new National Health Authority Act in order to prevent the fate that befell the National Health Insurance Act, with the ultimate aim of that much desired universal health coverage being the casualty. ATM also directed NMA Abia State branch to explore the option of legitimate strike that must involve all doctors in Abia State to achieve recovery of the salary arrears of the state workers, especially those in Abia State University Teaching Hospital.
Uche Roland Ojima, a consultant dermatologist at the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital Enugu, secured a total of 319 votes to defeat his opponent, Okoro Kenneth Johnson, who polled 40 votes, and Kingsley Ikweremadu, who scored 0. He studied medicine and surgery at the University of Port Harcourt, Rivers State.
Long queues are now being noticed in a few filling stations in Akure, the Ondo State capital, while many filling stations are under lock and key as they are not dispensing petrol. Plus TV correspondent Akim Lawal gathered that the scarcity was caused by a power tussle among members of NUPENG and has now left resident groaning as the scarcity has grounded social and economic activities. They urged the federal government to please find a lasting solution to the perennial fuel scarcity.
People had been here as early as 5:30 in the morning trying to buy fuel, and the queue is still long. Many people are still trying to get fuel. Many don't even have hope. Now, some other filling stations that you still get, like one filling station, I would like to mention them. Yesterday, they sold for 200.
I've been here since morning. So, since now, I've never collected any fuel. So, what I've said earlier is that I will appeal to the government to do something. You know, people are suffering now. Some people are delayed for, some people are delayed. Many people are supposed to be at the same, in their working places now. But now, they are in the filling station.
They are selling fuel here. They have light. They just went and put it off without even telling us that what is happening. And they have fuel here. This is a serious problem in this country. So we are begging the government to come and intervene to those people now, to come and see what is happening here. Many queues here. People they are ready to work now. These Okada people, they are ready to work, to feed their family. Nothing to do. Nothing was happened. It's very, very unfair. So please appeal to the authority people to come and visit those people right now.
The Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, is rebranding the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards with a new logo. This is in conjunction with the leadership and the steering committee. At a press briefing in Lagos, the BON chairman John Ugbe mentioned that the media has been at the forefront of contributing towards the resolution of critical national issues such as insecurity, health, economic, among others. He said there is the need to motivate media practitioners by recognizing and rewarding their works of excellence.
This is the first time BON is going to have an award ceremony, and I'm privileged and I'm happy and excited to be the chairman of the steering committee. We work with several people here. They're all seated here. BON is, as you all know, BON has been around for the last 33 years, and it's always been the same traditional government-style approach to doing business. But this time around, we have a dynamic chairman, and it's turning things around. Thanks to John. John, thank you very much for that.
The aim of the Nigeria Broadcasting Awards is to embody international awards for, one, the outstanding achievement in television and radio, and two, distinguished achievement and meritorious service in broadcasting, amongst others. There are quite a few categories for which awards will be given across radio and television, and the list will be made available to you presently. To achieve a successful award, BON at its 76th General Assembly approved the composition of the award steering committee, drawn from public and private broadcast media houses. The steering committee is headed by Mr. Guy Murray Bruce, President of the Silverbird Group. Distinguished BON members, ladies and gentlemen of the press, it is my pleasure to unveil the logo of the Nigeria Broadcast Awards 2022 today, May 24th, 2022.
The logo is about to be displayed for the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards 2022. Wow.
The Nigerian Broadcasting Award ceremony is scheduled to hold in October this year. Moving on, in Nigeria, reporting child abuse cases is often stigmatized, with victims unsure of getting justice. A World Health Organization report in 2020 reveals that 1 in every 5 women and 1 in every 13 men have been sexually abused as a child from 0 to 17 years. To this end, stakeholders in Lagos held a consultative workshop with the Nigerian police, lawyers, child advocates, and NGOs in the administration of the criminal justice system and child abuse cases to see how victims can get justice. Plus TV Fumi Onuajefe files in this report.
In Nigeria, sexual abuse in children is an offense punishable under several sections of Chapter 21 of the Criminal Code. In spite of this, a large number of children sexually abused daily is staggering and shocking, to say the least. Handling sexual abuse cases is delicate, and working across board with all stakeholders is pivotal to get justice for victims. Chachayara Foundation, in partnership with the Rule of Law Anti-Corruption Program, organized a consultative workshop with the police and stakeholders in the criminal justice system. The Ministry of Justice emphasized the need to report cases on time so that due process to conviction can begin quickly.
The perspective of the Ministry of Justice is to ensure that cases of sexual offenses and domestic violence are quickly and proactively brought to court and prosecuted. The longer it takes for a case to get to court, the higher the chances of the person becoming disinclined to come to court.
The police, on the other hand, promised to look into poorly investigated cases and plan more training for its officers.
One of the legal counsel said that some of our cases, or some cases, are not well investigated. You only see the statement of one or two statements in the case file. I think that is a different ballgame when it comes to the state CID. But I understand that at going to the divisional level, may have issues like this, and I want to assure you that we will take care of that. We've been organizing training, like I said, with the Ministry of Justice and ROLAC, going down to the divisional level. We've been inviting divisional crime officers, DPOs, area commanders. So once we have this continuous training, I think we will be able to improve on these aspects you are pointed at.
The focus of the workshop, the organizers say, is not only to bring to the fore the ills of society, but to go further to try and nip this scourge in the bud. They insist with fierce determination that the work has only just begun.
The Congress is over, but the work has just begun, because we were opportune to have a meeting with the Attorney General. A steering committee has been set up to develop and implement a child sexual abuse investigative and interview protocol. And the committee will consist of stakeholders in the administration of criminal justice sector, so as to navigate the way to ensure the best practices of investigating and prosecuting child sexual abuse cases.
The use of forensic interviews is helpful, not only in the prosecution of perpetrators, but also for helping the victims not to relive their trauma over and again. Fumi Unajefi for Plus TV News.
Ekiti State Chief Magistrate Court, Ado-Ekiti Magisterial District, has ordered the remand of a 24-year-old man, Okpeyemi Ayeni, and the custodial center for allegedly killing a police officer. According to the church, the defendant was reasonably suspected to have committed the offense of murder on a police officer, Inspector Adieko Lakunle, at Okeimi area of Ado-Ekiti on May the 15th, contrary to Section 234 of the Criminal Laws of Ekiti State 2021. The police prosecutor, Samson Osobo, in an ex-parte application, sought remand of the defendant in the custody of the Nigerian Correctional Service to allow the police to complete their investigation, while the duplicate case file will be forwarded to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution for legal advice. As Nigeria prepares for another round of elections in 2023, citizens have continued to express their views on what their expectations are. That's on Street Views.
Well, basically, at the moment, the situation in town, the situation of the country determines the wave of how election goes. The government of the day are so much messed up, and even the blind and the deaf in the society can tell. So for 2023, I believe that it's going to be about the corporate need of the society beyond individualisms. Because if we don't get it right this time as a corporate society, we cannot get it out again. So basically, the performance of the present government will determine the result of this 2023 election.
Hopefully, I'm expecting the power to change from the ruling party to the other party, which is PDP, because I think every part of everywhere corner of the country, they are tired of the ruling party, which is APC, because instead of things to like being a stabilized way, it's getting too hard for people so people can't bear it anymore. That's my views on it.
Yes, we've been hearing that too, but people are tired of suffering. So I believe people will come out to vote for their choice. That will really make peace. Because imposing people on party members have always brought menace to our society. When people vote for their right choice and the right choice wins, it brings peace to the world. So I believe at this election, people will vote for their right choice.
Still ahead, activists in Davos say Russia-Ukraine war exacerbated climate change impacts. Details when we return.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Moving to other parts of Africa, South Africa's neutral stance on Russia's war in Ukraine will be a major topic of conversation during a meeting between German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. Speaking to media in Pretoria ahead of their private meeting, the two leaders said they will also consider developments on the African continent. Scholz's visit comes as the war in Ukraine has been raging for 3 months and is causing oil and food prices to rise around the world, including in Africa.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has been holding talks with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to end his 3-nation tour of Africa. A major topic of conversation is South Africa's neutral stance on Russia's war in Ukraine. The two leaders said they will also consider economic developments in the African country.
As South Africa, we attach the greatest importance to our relations with Germany, which is our second largest trading partner, but which is also a major investor in our economy as a significant market for inbound tourism and valued partner in development.
We'll have to work on the multilateral world. And doing so, it is necessary that we cooperate and that we are understanding that there are things that we have in common important for what we are doing.
Another topic to be discussed is South Africa's intention to reduce its dependence on coal-fired power plants. Germany is among the countries that pledged up to $8.5 billion at the COP26 climate change conference last year to help South Africa achieve this. But so far there have been no announcements of actual payments of those funds.
Shortly after Hassan Sheikh Mohamud was inaugurated as president of Somalia, the UN envoy for the country hailed the peaceful transfer of power. Outgoing President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo graciously conceded and congratulated and extended support to his successor. Special Representative of the Secretary General and head of the UN Assistance Mission in Somalia, James Swan, said this to the UN Security Council.
President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo graciously conceded and congratulated and extended support to his successor. The new president was immediately sworn in, and the outcome has been fully accepted. As this council has noted repeatedly, Madam President, it is past time for Somali leaders to move beyond the prolonged political contest to focus on urgent national.
Now, the UN Migration Agency has announced plans to transfer at least 6,750 Ethiopian migrants from war-torn Yemen to their own country in the coming month, while appealing for $7.5 million to assist the return. The International Organization for Migration said it has transferred more than 600 migrants, including 60 unaccompanied children, to Ethiopia on 3 flights so far this year. It added that more flights were planned between Yemen's southern port city of Aden and the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa. The United States has said it is concerned about the recent mass arrest of journalists and community activists in Ethiopia. The U.S. Embassy in the capital, Addis Ababa, said that it shared calls made early by the state-affiliated Ethiopian Human Rights Communication for the authorities to respect the rule of law and adhere to due process. At least 10 journalists and media personalities have been arrested in the past week in Addis Ababa and the country's second most populous region, Amhara. Meanwhile, a court in Egypt has sentenced a media tycoon with close links to the government to 3 years in jail for his involvement in human trafficking and indecent assault of underage girls at an orphanage he founded. Mohammed Al-Amin, who owned a number of influential media outlets, was arrested earlier this year after allegations of sexual abuse at the orphanage were made public by a humanitarian organization called Missing Children. The public prosecutor said that he had exploited his authority and the girl's vulnerability, but Amin has denied the charges and will be able to appeal the sentence. The Gabonese government has banned an opposition march against the French military presence in the country, saying it will jeopardize the excellent relationship between the two countries. A letter by the Interior Minister to the leader of the opposition Gabonese Patriotic Front justified the ban, noting the defense agreements Gabon has signed with France. The Gabonese Patriotic Front had planned a peaceful march on Tuesday, starting from the French military base in Gabon's capital, Libreville. Now, 4 migrants seeking to reach Europe illegally have been confirmed dead and 3 declared missing after their boat sank off the coast of Libya. The Libyan Navy, in a statement, said it had rescued 13 migrants off the coast of Melita the previous day and discovered the bodies of 4 others who were drowned. According to the Navy, 12 of the migrants rescued are Syrians and the 13th Egyptian. The nationalities of the dead 3 men and 1 woman and the missing are not known. The Ministry of Health in Morocco has discovered 3 suspected cases of monkeypox, the first time this has happened in the kingdom. Coordinator of the National Center for Emergency Public Health Operations, Dr. Mohammed, said in a statement that medical tests were underway and that the results will be known soon. The statement did not state where the suspected cases were detected or the identity of the 3 people. And outside Africa, the war in Ukraine is exacerbating the effect of climate change on the most vulnerable, a climate activist said on the fringes of the World Economic Forum. Speaking at our appearance at a WEF panel discussion with U.S. climate envoy John Kerry, Elizabeth Watuti said that attendees were treating the issues as separate rather than interrelated. Watuti said that the main thing about the war in Ukraine is the fact that it has continued to exacerbate the impact of climate change, especially the rise in food insecurity in Horn of Africa.
I think one of the main things about the war in Ukraine is the fact that it has continued to exacerbate the impacts of climate change, and especially the rising food insecurity in the Horn of Africa. And what we're hearing is the fact that, this crisis, people talk about it, but we are not talking about the Ukraine crisis and the climate crisis at the same time. And it's as though people are not aware that the fact that this crisis also continues to impact the communities on the front line.
Well, in some of the events I've been in while in Davos, most of the conversation is really about economic growth. It's really about GDP, and I haven't really had conversations about the climate crisis, about how it's impacting people. So it's kind of worrying and devastating to see that business leaders are mostly discussing profit and not discussing the need to prioritize the lives of the people and how the climate crisis is affecting.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has stated that a 6th EU sanctions package was not far off. The minister, during a joint news conference with her Polish counterpart, said that the country, together with all 27 member states in complete unity, has agreed on 5 tough sanctions packets up to now. Baerbock's comments come a day after the Dutch Prime Minister said he believed the European Union can reach a consensus within the next week on the 6th package of EU sanctions on Russia that will put a stop to its consumption of Russian oil and gas as soon as possible. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said that Turkey is key to the alliance as the country continues its objections to Finland and Sweden's application for membership. Stoltenberg's comments came during a World Economic Forum panel discussion on Europe's security in the wake of the war in Ukraine. Finnish Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto stated that Finland and Sweden will send delegations to Ankara on Wednesday to try to resolve Turkish opposition to the application for membership in the NATO military alliance.
for President Putin to lift the blockade of Odessa and other Ukrainian ports to allow grain to be exported out of Ukraine, because this is really his responsibility. The war is causing the food shortage and the increasing prices. It's not NATO or EU sanctions, it's actually the direct consequence of the war and the Russian blockade. Then I welcome efforts by EU, by NATO member states and others to try to find a way to get more grain out of Ukraine by rail, on land, and also the efforts that are addressing is it possible to get it out on ships. That is a difficult task. It's not an easy way forward. The best and easiest way is to end the war, to drop the blockade and let the food go out.
I believe Europe will be more secured if Sweden and Finland join NATO. I think yes. There's absolutely no doubt to that. Okay, so Europe will be more secure when both of them join. That's the main goal. Then let's talk with Turkey and let's solve the issues that they have. But we as 30 countries and now 32, the main goal we have is stabilizing Europe, and we will be better off 32 than 30. So I honestly would be very surprised that things would be put on the table which are unsolvable.
Executive Director for the United Nations World Food Programme, David Beasley, has said that Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which Moscow describes as a special military operation, has led to a sudden crunch and a food crisis that was already in the offing. Beasley, in an interview, endeavored that the number of people marching to starvation has risen from 80 million to 276 million over the last 4 to 5 years. He further explained that to keep the port closed as the harvest season is now coming in Ukraine in July and August means a declaration of war on global food supply.
I think there's an extraordinary awakening of the reality that we're facing that truly is a global food crisis. I haven't seen that before. Last year I was trying to tell everybody in the different settings that we got problems, but no one seemed to want to focus. Now everyone's beginning to give it the attention that it needs, because the consequences, if you don't, are going to be. To keep the ports closed as the harvest season is now coming in Ukraine in July and August, it means a declaration of war on global food security. If you can't get the food out the fields, I mean, Ukraine grows enough food to feed 400 million people. In a time on planet Earth where we're facing extraordinary food crisis before Ukraine, fuel costs, commodity prices, shipping costs were already doubling, tripling, quadrupling.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has revealed that the Atlantic hurricane season is poised to deliver another round of above normal storms in the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. NOAA's administrator Rick Sperrit at a news conference in New York said that the prediction reviews an above normal 2022 Atlantic hurricane season, which will make this year the 7th consecutive above normal season. NOAA forecasters estimate 14 to 21 named storms, 6 to 10 of which will become hurricanes, and 3 to 6 of those that will develop into major hurricanes during the June 1st to November 30th season.
NOAA is predicting an above normal 2022 Atlantic hurricane season, which would make this year the 7th consecutive above normal season. Specifically, there's a 65% chance of an above normal season, a 25% chance of a near normal season, and just a 10% chance of a below normal season. For the range of storms expected, NOAA calls for a 70% probability of the following ranges: 14 to 21 named storms with top winds of at least 39 miles per hour. Of these, 6 to 10 will become hurricanes with top winds of at least 74 miles per hour. And of these, 3 to 6 major hurricanes ranked as categories 3, 4, or 5 with top winds of at least 111 miles per hour.
So when it comes to coastal storms, hurricanes, and floods,
Preparation is everything. And today, this announcement is allowing all of our agencies and New Yorkers to be prepared. That's why we are here today with partners from NOAA, FEMA, and the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. It's going to take real partnership for us to combat these unprecedented levels of storms that we are seeing in our city and in our entire country.
So my question to the public today is, are you ready? We must not forget that just last year, Hurricane Ida made a 9-state destructive trek across the United States. It affected coastal, urban, and suburban communities. This shows me that no one is immune from the effects of these tropical storms. So FEMA has an urgent call to everyone, a call to action for everybody that lives in these areas. The time to get ready is now.
Up next, the telecommunications sector drives 3.11% GDP growth in the first quarter 2022. That's the business news after the short break. Moving on to business, the federal government has said it is targeting local refining of over 2.555 billion barrels of crude oil worth over 120 trillion in the next 5 years. A combined refining capacity of more than 1.4 million barrels per day is expected from the rehabilitation of the existing 4 national refineries, co-location of new refineries, construction of greenfield refineries, and construction of modular refineries as part of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources refining roadmap in the next 5 years. The refining of 1.4 million barrels per day is approximately 2.555 billion barrels in 5 years. The Nigerian telecommunications sector has raised the bar higher with a stellar 14.5% year-on-year growth in real terms. The telecommunications sector, which is a component of the broader ICT sector, grew significantly to 2.25 trillion in the first quarter 2022 from 1.96 trillion naira recorded in the corresponding period of 2021. However, compared to the previous quarter, the telecommunications sector recorded a 12.4% decline from 2.56 trillion naira. This is no surprise considering the huge spending activities usually associated with the last quarter of the year. Meanwhile, the Nigerian economy as a whole in the first quarter 2022 grew by 3.11% in real terms, following a 3.98% year-on-year growth recorded in the previous quarter. This represents the 6th consecutive quarterly growth in the Nigerian economy after the COVID-induced recession in 2020. Experts and entrepreneurs in the digital space have called for a critical review of Nigeria's digital economic regulations to meet up with other progressive economies. The professionals who spoke at the 2022 Legal Business Conference in Lagos said these digital sectors included blockchain, crypto, and fintech innovation. According to a statement, the professionals in the fintech and blockchain subsector of the financial industry said Nigeria was losing billions of naira owing to its inability to explore and maximize merits of opportunities inherent in the digital world like other economies. Up next is entertainment news.
Davido has congratulated Banky W over his victory at the recently held House of Representatives primaries by the PDP. The singer took to his social media page where he promised to support Banky. Banky W won the ticket to represent Etiosa Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives under the PDP. Banky W scored 28 votes to defeat his opponent, who scored 3 votes. Ireti Doyle is trending amongst Nollywood Twitter followers over a clapback tweet shared early yesterday morning. She reacted to tweets made by the Chief Daddy director, Nee Akimolayo, where he tackled actors and critics demanding challenging roles in the industry. According to Akimolayo, like everything about filmmaking, challenging roles require chunky budgets. Reacting to the tweets, Doyle pointed out that producers like Akimolayo were guilty of hiring the same influencer actors, prioritizing social media numbers over talent and expertise. The Eddies Awards, Nigeria's biggest prize in music, is set to announce the nominees for its 15th edition. The nomination list will contain some of the most recognized and celebrated songs in Nigeria in 2021 and parts of 2020. The nomination list is expected to be keenly contested, especially as a bulk of the materials released during the COVID-inspired music rush of 2020 are eligible for consideration. All of Nigeria's heavyweights released albums in the year in view with varying degrees of penetration and success, so stakeholders and fans can expect this year's nomination to be the toughest yet. This year, the Eddies is going international as it will be held at the COBB Energy Performing Arts Center, Atlanta, USA, on 4th September. Kourtney Kardashian has changed the last name to Baker on Instagram. She apparently made the change yesterday, a day after she and Blink-182 drummer exchanged vows at a lavish wedding ceremony in Portofino, Italy.
And the main news again. Operatives of the EFCC pick up Okorocha from his Abuja residence. Dino Melaye loses senatorial ticket to TJ Yusuf in Kogi. Activists in Davos say Russia-Ukraine war exacerbated climate change impacts. That's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Olamide Adeyemi. Many thanks for watching.